then I say we're ready. It's the Mick Man. Arguably one of the harder people to do this with, I think.
Why?
Because there's so much. Like, we honestly need like a 6-parter, 7-parter, 10-parter, you know?
Honestly, when you asked me to do this, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Like,
yeah, I mean...
What do? I don't do anything.
Ryan... Oh, no, that's not true. But I meant from, like... Ryan Sickler is doing something with Joey Diaz where he's letting Joey tell his life story on...
I'm Joey Diaz?
Yes.
The
you
fuck
are
outta
Joey
here.
Diaz. We're setting the bar fucking high.
Yeah, what?
And Joey Diaz, they start the episode, and he'll be like, all right, so it was 1972, and I was, like, kidnapping this guy in the back of a van.
I had my cocaine shoved up this whore's asshole. Like, that's not me.
But then he gets to, like, 1974, and he's like, and that's where we'll stop today, and we pick it up next time. I mean, I could do that with you in your Barstool career. Everyone else that we've done so far in this new reboot has been new people or... people where it's very obvious, where it's like, we're going to talk about this chunk of time, this Chicklets era, the Pardon My Take era, whatever. You know, we could do this for 5 different eras of Barstool, and that's before we even get into your personal life, you know? So, yeah, it's a lot to even tackle.
Did you research me?
No. No. How could one even research the Mick Man? It's not even possible.
I don't know what's out there. Who knows?
Yeah. So... I mean, let's start current, I guess, and we'll kind of jump backwards. Because right now, you were just mentioning it, like you're watching the blog. You're part of this like 3-headed editor monster, and it's something that I know you care so deeply about because you were there for when it was just a written blog. But I also know that I felt bad in a sense, like the way in which you got the job is not how anybody would have wanted it, right? So it's like you achieved this thing, but under not ideal circumstances.
Well, it was almost like saying how when my time's done, is that how it's going to happen? Like,
yeah,
there was no joy. It was a joyless moment.
No, that is true.
When I came down last September, I was like I've always cared about writing. I went to college to write. I've been writing in newspapers and stuff like that since I was in 9th grade. Like, that's all I've ever wanted to do.
One of the best pure writers I've ever seen, yeah.
I appreciate that, Kevin. But when I saw, like, things were happening on the blog that was getting Keith in trouble, I was like, there's only one person watching this massive, like, we're the largest publication on the internet that had one editor.
Guy, yeah.
Like, which was wildly unfair. Not, like, I understand there wasn't other people vying to help, so I was like, when my contract was coming up, I was like, what is the next step that I want to take? Like, I had already moved. I was living in Boston at the time, so I was like, I'm not going to be doing, like, on-camera stuff. I don't want to do another podcast. Like, I just want to write. But I can't be like, I'm just going to write. So I was like, I pitched myself as another editor, not the editor.
Right.
And by that time, what I didn't know was how out of favor Keith had fallen in their eyes. Right. So even independent, like Erica and Dave hadn't spoken.
You're telling me there wasn't communication?
Yeah. Something I harped on. Something I harped on as well, which still is a little shaky, but I pitched it to both of them independent. They hadn't spoken, and both of them were both like, we've been looking for a new editor-in-chief. I don't think it was a very active search, but once I heard that, I was nervous because I didn't want them to bring in some like outsider too. Like I very much care about how this company operates, if that makes, like, if you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, people are always like, I want old Barstool, and like they don't really know what that means.
No,
like,
how about now when people say like, I miss OG Barstool, I was around, and they say something that happened in like 2017.
Right.
I'm like, bro, you're a newbie too. Get the fuck out of here.
They have no idea. They have no idea, which might be for the best, but
yeah, probably.
The authenticity is something I didn't want to lose, and I didn't think bringing an outsider in was going to do that. And I was nervous Dave was going to be like, fuck that, because he was never a big fan of my writing, ever.
You know, it's weird when Dave gets something in his head, because in some regards, he's, one of the greatest talent evaluators of all time. I mean, he found me, Coley.
It's true.
I mean,
true.
So he's got to be great. But then there are times where, you know, he just gets something in his head. Because, like, you know what happens? He read, like, one blog of yours one day.
He's told me in the past, all it takes for him is one.
Absolutely.
He's like an old baseball scout, like, crack of the bat I knew. And my crack of the bat I fouled out to the fucking catcher. I guess,
yeah. But, you know, you also have a very... It's also the same way that, like, he tells me that, like, Sebastian Maniscalco is not funny. You know what I mean? It's like, you just don't know certain sense of humors. You don't agree with certain sense of humors. You have a very distinct style.
Well, to his credit, when I was first an intern back in 2011, I did write very differently from how anyone on the site wrote. Yes. It was such a shorter, like if you were doing 350 words, you were an asshole because you were doing way too much. And I write like long form. I came from, again, like newspapers and stuff, so I was writing 750 was the minimum.
Right.
And so I was like, I wasn't writing topics that, like, I didn't have the eye for topics yet, which is a real skill, like, to know what
and an important one. If you don't have that, you could write a great blog, but if it's about a shitty topic...
Yeah, if no one gives a fuck, who cares? But I didn't have the eye yet. Like, what truly made me a better writer for this company was Twitter. If I didn't get banned from... In a weird way, I got banned from Facebook because when I was an intern, I used to post the smoke shows on the Facebook page. And... Zuckerberg's a coward, so he
absolutely. You post that, Mark.
You post girls showing a little bit of skin, you're banned.
You're gone. Yeah.
And so when I did that, I was like, oh, it's only a 6-month ban, but I'm done with Facebook. Even when the 6 months out, like I'm banning you. So I'm like, I'm going to Twitter now,
I'm banning you.
Which I didn't like until I was forced to like it, and then once Twitter is really like it really doesn't matter what you do; it's who you follow. Yes. So like around that time,
if your Twitter experience sucks. That's on you.
Your timeline
you can
sucks.
Cultivate, you can cultivate it to be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
so you just know how to do it.
My timeline had sucked up until like I was truly on there and had to figure it out. And once I started following certain people, it was like, oh, now I get the rhythm.
Twitter is top 5 and bottom 5 invention of all time.
Correct.
It's the most paradoxical thing that's ever existed. Truly, I can't think of something that's that good and that bad all at once.
It's like how towels are like they're wet when they dry. You know what I mean? Like that's Twitter.
It's like the soap. Is the soap getting dirty?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have direct access to celebrities and artists and some of the greatest minds of all time while they like have breakdowns, and then it also causes you to have your own breakdown. And
big time.
But I also think it's the thinking man's app
for sure.
You know. Instagram with your pretty girls and Snapchat with your dick pics and TikTok. Don't even get me started on TikTok. No. But, all Twitter is like punchlines and funny jokes and clever and wit if you use it that way.
And that was back the 140 days too. So
you had to be real tight with it. So that was real tough for you.
Yeah, well, sure it was.
The big long wind over here.
But it made me like pithy. It made me have to condense shit, and that made me a better blogger, especially for here.
Also topics. I feel like I do it for 1 Minute Man now. It's like I just open up Twitter and I just like, what do I see 3 or 4 times in a row on the timeline? That's what people are talking about.
For sure.
Yeah. That's the technical aspect of it. But what you said about caring about this company, without naming names, I mean, how many people do you think left care about this company? Truly. 1 hand? 2 hands?
I don't know, because it's like, I mean, obviously I worked very closely with someone who left, so it was like, I know he cared about me and the show we did. But if, I don't know, if you didn't grow up reading it.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily mean it as a knock.
No,
because there's some people that shouldn't care about it more than just, this is a stepping stone, or this is the current place I work, or this is just whatever, And
I do think there are some of us who care too much.
Definitely,
to a point where it's like almost a negative. Like,
I feel like it's dwindling, though.
You think so?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it has to. And again, not in like a negative, it's not a good thing, so it's got to be in a negative way. But in like, you just, certain things can't stay the way they were. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also like, I mean, kids, like other priorities
things,
slide
absolutely,
up.
Yeah, I mean,
things go down.
There was a time where this was the most and only important thing in the world to me, you know? And then, other things happen and people grow their separate ways. And it's like, Barstool is like a living, breathing thing. It's like an amoeba, you know what I mean? And I think that it's only natural that it's going to have some rises and falls. But that's what I wonder is like, is it just that we have this trajectory that goes straight until it blows up? Or is there like an up and down and life after Dave potentially? Like, is this something that'll go like 100 years when we're fucking dead? Is Barstool still cooking? Or is it something where it's just like, this is something that we did that stands alone special we had like a 30-year run and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think about life after Dave in a company sense a lot because it's something I think everyone here should be preparing for. Like we have tent poles like you guys, part of my take, obviously, spitting chiclets. Some people like hockey for some reason. Like there are these massive things we have, but I mean, we're seeing right now, like it's still, no matter who we have here, it begins and ends with him.
Barstool's Dave, Dave is Barstool.
Right. Yeah. So it's like when he leaves, which I don't know. Like this is going to be a tough comparison. I apologize. He's like Joe Paterno. Like I don't know. I don't know if he can live without content.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like the second Joe got out of football, dead. Dave will be making content till he's dead. Like he'll be on a respirator. 80 years old.
Yep.
All right, Frankie, here we go.
The craziest
casket
thing
review
is that he doesn't think that.
He says that, but he knows.
Do you think that he is lying and he knows he's lying, or he's lying to himself? Because I mean, he has said multiple times years ago, all I need is 10 million. 10 million and I'll walk away from this forever. And I said, are you crazy, dude? You need the spotlight. You love the people. You love the interaction. He goes, no, I just need the money. I'm like, well, now, to your quote, you have infinity money.
Yeah.
Infinite money.
Infinite internet dollars.
So why are you still here?
That's what I mean. Like
there's a reason why.
Yeah, and it's like he loves this shit. I think a lot of us love this shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a blame thing. Like I think he's going to be doing this till he's dead, and especially now that we have the gambling side of it too, like that.
Now it's like his passion,
right? Yeah,
I do think that you run out of gas a little bit. The burnout is real.
For sure.
People don't respect it or acknowledge it. They all the time, oh yeah, it's so tough for you to like crack dick jokes and talk about sports with your buddies. I bet that job's hard. I don't know what to tell you. It is.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck to tell you. It is. It just is hard. It might not appear to be so, but here's a question for you. When do you think that we as online personalities do get that level of respect? Because nobody goes like, DiCaprio, like an actor, like that's so easy. People acknowledge that is a difficult thing to do and a taxing lifestyle and all that shit. Oh, you're a musician? That's a piece of cake. No, it's fucking not.
Yeah.
He's not sitting at a desk either. But why do actors, musicians, other forms of entertainment get that level of like, wow, that's hard, and we're still like, you're just a joke?
Yeah, I mean,
and will that change?
I don't think it'll change, and like I truly don't care if people think it's hard or not. Like that's not what motivates me. But like I was talking, like I do macrodosing with Arian Foster now. Obviously, other people are on it too, but I was talking to him, so that's why I only said him. And he was just like, he had a podcast before that he did. I mean, he's a retired NFL player, made millions of dollars. So he was truly just doing a podcast because he could. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, like, I didn't understand that this was like a viable career path until he came to us and saw how we were doing it and like the machine behind it. And he was just like, yeah, when I started doing it, it was because I respect PFT and like we're cool and like it was just like a fun thing to do. But then when I like truly saw like the response and like how everything's doing and the check that comes with it, he was like, let me set up, like, let me take
my back into this.
Yeah, he was like, I'm going to train for this like I do my other job. So it's like, this is like, I think a lot of people only see the finished product. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about athletes, like they report from the practice. JJ Watt shows his box jumps. Like we don't show that. We're not like gingers in the summer roofing. You know what I mean? Like it's not hard manual labor. But the consistency of it to show up and do, I mean, what do you guys do? Like fucking, I feel like you guys do 5 shows a week now. Yeah. Like how often I see, like even the guys behind the cameras, like you think they like hearing you say how hard it is? The hours they put into it?
These are the people I'm talking about. Like when people are like, why don't you do the goddamn Jets? It's like, well, because we have to work on Sundays till like midnight, and it's not for any money or any growth. Like we're not doing that, you know what I mean? But people don't see that. They just think it's just a 2-minute video of you talking about the Jets. It's like, well, it was with edits and cuts and transitions and assets edited in and all that shit. And I think it's like it's almost like Barstool's like Carlos Beltran. We make it look easy.
Just about to say that. Yeah,
we make it look easy. Like when there's effortless athletes and they get the like you're not trying hard tag. It's like, no, man, this shit is easy, you know? And it's not easy, but we present it in such a way where it comes across like that. But like, no, we are the internet coal miners.
I mean, I've been saying it a lot recently just because I get really fed up with how dumb people are, especially people in like the talking industry, for lack of a better word, like
big talk.
Other people say like such stupid fucking things. They get paid to talk about like football or basketball. Like they get paid such big money to be truly disingenuous. Yeah. Like they're saying things just to try and get a reaction. Like that's what, like there are certain people here who have tried to do it that way, and it really infuriates me because the second we start looking like everyone else, that's when we all goes fail. To shit.
Yeah.
If we ever start looking like everyone else, just trying to get reactions, and we have people here who can get reactions, but that's not who they are. They just do that. Like Big Cat will troll, like even today.
Yeah,
he's like, should Coach K go to jail for his grandson getting a DWI?
Yeah. But it's like there are people out there that would actually have that take.
Right, and be like screaming about it. Like, but that's disingenuous. Like we try, at least I try to be like super authentic. Like when people come to me, they know they're gonna get how I really feel. Yep. And if other people, like, it's fucking, it's draining.
Really, I think you can boil all of it down to like the Barstool difference, or what Barstool is we are authentic, and that garners a reaction. Mm-hmm. We don't try to get a reaction, we just do.
Right.
And that is like the golden ticket. That's like the thing you want. Everyone else is trying to get the reaction we
manufacture
get. It, yeah. Yeah, I don't, like, there's always controversy, not because I wake up in the morning being like, I need some controversy today.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to throw a joke out there or a take that happens to garner that response, and you can't do that. And sometimes I don't want to do that. Sometimes I wish, man. Don't you miss the days of like, you can talk some shit about somebody and crack some jokes and they're not going to see it? Like, God, I want to be an anonymous troll again. I just want to be an anonymous troll.
I think about it sometimes, like, oh, that person might see this, and I just don't care. Like, I really don't.
You really don't.
I don't care.
Doesn't change
like,
you?
I've had people.
Well, you're not as mean as I am, I guess.
I see. People always say, like, people think I'm this like really nice guy. Like, I say some of the meanest stuff here about people, like, constantly, like. And people are just like, oh, it's the big fat jovial guy. Like
it plays.
I guess, but it's like I don't know. Like some people get really upset, and then other people are just like, oh, he's one of the nice ones. It's like I hate that shit.
You don't like being tagged as nice?
Not like even when I got the fucking promotion, everyone was like, even Keith, like when I called him for the first time and we were talking, he was just like, how could I be mad at you? You're so nice. It's like, what are you talking about? You want to punch me in the fucking face?
Well, yeah, he should hate your guts. Yeah,
yeah. Like,
but why don't you think you?
I don't know where it comes from. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's like an earned title. Like, I don't understand. Even you, like, I say terrible things to you all the time, and here you are, like, a big, nice Coley. Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, I guess I'm almost like the polar opposite of you, where it's like people think I'm like nasty and mean and
people hate you,
spirited, and I'm like, I don't get that at all. Because at the end of the day, you're right. Like, me and you are saying a lot of the same things.
A lot.
So I think
we present it a little differently sometimes.
Yeah, and that's probably the difference, and that's probably where it comes from. But like, that shouldn't really determine anything. Really, it's like the way you tell online jokes and the way I tell internet jokes should not really determine who you are. But I guess when you are an internet fan, that's all you have to go off of. Really.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
You know what I like about you?
What's that?
You're one of the guys. I love this. I love when I'll say something. Specifically, we're talking about the Barstool bubble. I'll give a take. And the people who hate me will hate that take, specifically because they hate me, not because of you in the take.
Yeah.
And then when you agree with that take, you're one of the guys that I love to then look at those people reacting and be like, now what do you say?
Yeah.
You know, there are certain people, like when Nate's on your side, you're like, no,
poor Nate.
That you know, that meme of like the worst thing in the world just happened, like the worst agrees with you.
When Dave was tweeting about how like people in government shouldn't own stocks, I saw a lot of people quote tweeting it with that.
Exactly.
With that, it's just very funny. It's
that
goes more to your take too, where people just when he says something, they already think one way about it just because he said it.
1000%.
Like I was trying to describe him to Arian yesterday, and I was just like, he'll say something libertarian, liberal, and conservative within like a series of 5 words. Right. Like it doesn't take a lot for him to jam all 3 of those ideologies into one sentence. Mm-hmm. Like, but people think certain ways about people. Like once you have that reputation, like it's like when a rookie plays well the first month of the season, like Michael Carter Williams. He won that Rookie of the Year because he had a triple-double opening night against the Heat.
That's all it takes.
He's stunk ever since. He's been really bad, but everyone's just like...
the Shane Spencers of the world come up, hit a fucking few home runs, next thing you know, they want to build a statue for him.
Right, once you get that early, like it just sticks with you for whatever reason, no matter what happens after, good or bad.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I do appreciate that. I don't know. I mean, I've had people here there are people here who I think, and everywhere, not just here, but here that when something happens, you kind of know what their take's gonna be before they even give it. But you kind of know, and I take a little bit of pride in that. Like I'm gonna think how people don't know what I'm gonna say.
Right.
Like they really don't, and I like it that way.
I mean, I get it all the time where it's like, what's a good, like just yesterday, an example. I'm the guy who always hates everything. And yesterday I was getting heat because I like too many comedians. Well, you like every comic. Well, which is it, man? You know? I don't like I don't like The Sopranos, but I like Breaking Bad. You know, like what? It's like everything is actually pretty balanced, and if you look at it, but those reputations stick. You know? And there's also nothing you can do to really fix it, so you might as well stop. That's fighting the tide.
That's why, like when we were talking earlier, like, do I care if people see it? Like, you can't. If you're caring, it's going to change how you're talking, and then you're less authentic. So it's really like, sometimes I'll bite my tongue. It's the old, like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Like sometimes you truly just have to bite your tongue if you don't want to deal with the backlash. But more often than not,
that might be the difference. Is that I don't bite the tongue.
No, you definitely should have a couple times.
But I don't. The backlash at this point I don't care.
No, at this point.
So then I'm like, I'm never going to bite the tongue because I don't. The backlash doesn't bother me, and it's something that I truly believe in. Like, fuck it.
For sure, yeah. No, I'm more talking like takes in the moment. Like, if it's something you truly believe in, always say it. There's no reason to. Then you're being a coward if you're not. Yeah,
that's the main. I mean, as someone who has consumed the internet, been from an intern to a podcaster to an editor, everything in between, what would you say are like the 3 things you need to like make it? And not even necessarily money or to be like a beloved Twitter follow, to be a respected take giver. I
thought you just meant to make it like in this business in general.
Sure, whatever. But whatever, like whatever that measurement is. Like if you were to make your list, your Mount Rushmore, whatever, of like internet personalities, what's like some of the 2 or 3 things they all have in common?
I mean, I think number 1 above all else is consistency. I really do think consistency is the most important. Because even I was talking to someone the other day, like people will start a podcast or a blog and they'll do it a couple times, or they'll do it once a month, or they'll do it sometimes. And it's like, you're never going to... Like, there's a lot of people who I think fucking stink at this. Not this company, just in general, who fucking stink at this. That have a big following because they show up. They show up and do it every day. Like, when I was a security guard, that was one of the things I noticed. I was like, I'm way funnier than this fucking guy. I'm way better at giving takes than this fucking... Like, I see sports better than this. Like, why am I sitting here and there? And I was just like, they just do it. So I just started writing, and I just started doing it. And that's when they re-saw me, and they were like, hey, why don't you run our social? Like, just do it. That's like, everyone always asks, like, how do I start? How do I get in there? Just do it.
Do it. I agree. I always
do it with no final goal in mind. Just do it knowing that
you can't do it for the money. You can't do it for the whatever. Like, just do it to do it.
Yeah.
That's the main thing too, is like, you can't buy or acquire like the love for it. It's like, I loved putting out a good blog.
Oh yeah.
To be like, this is a good blog. And so I guess in that sense, it's a little bit for like fans, because you need that feedback or some sort of validation that this is, yes, it is a good blog or a good post. But when I got that, like, I mean, there were times I would not go out at night. Writing. I'm talking before Barstool. I was writing on For Sure Not.
Oh, yeah.
And my boys would be like, let's go to the bar. And I was like, I got to finish up this fucking smoke show cartoon bracket blog. I was like, guys, I can't. It's the Final Four tonight. All right? We got Jasmine versus Ariel. I can't go out tonight. And they were kind of like, why? And I was like, because it's like me painting a picture. It's like me finishing a song. It's like, and so I'm going to do it all the time. I mean, and then the people who I'm born for this, dude. It's like, okay, you gave up after 6 days.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Jared about like our paths recently, like just how we ended up here. Like, like seeing people's paths is something that like truly interests me.
Love it.
It's something I discovered one night at UMass, sitting on sewer grate that was giving off heat because I was rolling on Molly, and I was just
that
sitting there
good.
thinking about the universe, and I was like, me and this dude from New Jersey, he's a year older than me, so he got a head start, and he took this path, but we ended up at this exact, like a homeless guy and a millionaire on an elevator. Like, in that moment, if that elevator stops, they're in the same place.
Absolutely.
They took the same exact, or they took wildly different paths, but they're in the same spot in the universe. Like, that's fascinating to me. But we were talking about, like, I think people see Jared and they're just like, oh, that's the douchebag with the big hair and the muscles, with the steroids and the sleeve tattoo and and like he just
girls lesbians.
Yeah, he's just like he just talks about baseball. It's like they don't see the skinny kid who had the one hat for 15 years, who
was writing health problems, writing books.
Yeah, writing a book with the heart shit that was like just going to Red Sox games, trying to be an ambassador for Massachusetts because he just wanted to be close to the team. Yeah. And they didn't see him being an intern at a radio station for the night show, unpaid, just so he could be close to the radio station. Like, I was fucking, when I was at UMass, I wouldn't go to class, I'd go to Panera because they had free Wi-Fi, and I would just blog on my own, like just writing about whatever the fuck, like MLB offseason, like just whatever.
Did you have a blog? What was it called?
Mickstape.
Mickstape, right.
I'm not very creative, Kevin.
No, I love that name. I think that's a great name.
It is a great name. Yeah. But once I had it, like that's all I'll name.
Everything's Mickstape. Yeah.
Now I can't, but it is what it is. And I was at an internet radio station. I'd do 4 hours solo. Like, and when I'd needed just a smoke break, I would just queue up 7 songs and I would just go smoke, and then I'd come back and then I'd yell about the Celtics, and I would get like somewhat big like NBA writers to call in just because Twitter was new, and
buzzing about it.
If someone asks, this is the thing with journalists, if you ask them to do something, they're so self-important. Doesn't matter who you are, they'll do it.
They'll do it, yeah.
They'll call in and talk.
They want you want me? Okay.
They'll give you as much time as you fucking want. So you're going to listen to my DeAndre Jordan trade ideas and have no idea why I'm talking to you on this radio station you don't even know if it exists. But like, and when I was doing security, like, I felt miserable and I felt like I was in timeout, but I was fucking in the cage. I was in the batting cage, just getting reps on Twitter, just rep after rep after rep.
Did you realize that in the time?
Not initially. I was really just killing time because it was the only way to get from 5 to 2 in the morning. Like, it was the only way to do it. But
imagine doing that back in the day.
What?
Doing that job without a phone, without internet, without Twitter.
I mean, it's like every old movie you see where it's like either a guy in a parking garage, like they always have a radio or a really even the opening scene of Moneyball, like the security guard has a fucking small TV.
Transistor.
Like, they've all security guards, shout out to them because it's a brutal grind that you talk about no one respects. It's like you're like a JV cop, like you've got no weapon,
respects you, nobody's scared of you.
At least I had the size on my side, but. Sure. There became a point. I remember it was actually I rewatched Conan's last episode on NBC, and that's really when my life clicked because I was very cynical. I was sitting there. I was like, why not me? Like, what did I do wrong? Why aren't I? Like, why isn't anything clicking? Why hasn't anyone offered me a job? Like, woe is me. Like. Coward, like just like crying in my fucking soup.
What age is this at?
This was like 2012, 2013. Probably 2013. So I say that like everyone knows how old I am.
I can't do the math.
Like 24.
Okay.
And I was watching it, and he was just like, I hate cynicism. And this is a guy losing the Tonight Show, his last one.
Not even losing, like getting it fucking yoinked,
taken away,
like the greatest screw job of all time.
Big time. And he's sitting there, he's like, don't be cynical, like it's not going to get you anywhere. And I was just like, all right. And that's when I was just like, I'm going to keep showing up on your timeline, until someone fucking pays me for this. And that's what happened. But I did give up also. So it's not, I didn't give up, but I went to weed school because I was like...
Right. All right, so let's start back. So security guard starts after school?
I dropped out the second time the Patriots lost to the Giants.
That was it? You couldn't take it?
Yeah. Well, I forced myself to drop out because my father would never have allowed me to truly drop out. I was like so depressed. I hated it. I hated journalism because I would take journalism and comm classes because they're two sides of the same coin, and you really get to see like how fucked up the world is when it's just like, you have to be honest, but you have to have this slant. Like, you have to have this hook, and it's just like, I hate that. We've talked about authenticity. Like, I hate how disingenuous that whole realm is, especially when they try and act like the most clandestine, like, honest. And it's like, it's just not true.
We know what you're
That's
doing.
also why when 45 was talking about fake news, I was like, this is really dangerous because he's right.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
This is dangerous,
Guy
but he's
spit a lot
saying,
of facts.
He's saying it in a way that's super dangerous, but he's not wrong. Like, so, the fuck was I talking about?
So you were sitting, you wanted to drop out because you...
Yeah,
you,
well, so
you learned both
I
sides
actually
of it.
went to Dave because this was February 2012, so I was an intern the summer of 2011. And so I didn't do that for credit because it was Barstool, and I remember my advisor being like, you don't want to work with them. Like, very, very directly was like, this is a bad, like, no one's going to take you seriously. And I was just like, shut up, you old bag.
I mean, at the time, if you were in journalism school, you know, and I'm sure that person is assuming you want to go write for the Boston Globe or some shit. Probably not wrong, but obviously wrong in the grand scheme of things. But
it was more like there was such a there still is like a condescending tone about this place. So like,
what the fuck will it take to? It's like, look the fuck around.
Right.
What can you possibly still be condescending about? Crazy.
And so I had this idea where I was like, I'll just go to Dave, have him sign off on these credits so that like I can get a 4.0 and boost my GPA. And then I thought about it the other way. I was like, if I submit 0 on, let's say, 8 credits, they'll kick me out because I'll have failed. So I'll be below 2.0. And I physically won't be able to come back. So that's what I did.
Wow. So you wanted to drop out, but knew you would not be allowed to.
Correct.
So you tanked.
Yeah.
You tanked your own.
Yeah, I tanked for a draft pick, yeah.
Yeah. Because why?
Because I knew they would just, my father wasn't able to go to college because his dad died, so I knew how important the degree was to him.
Right.
But he wouldn't understand how irrelevant degrees have become.
Yeah.
And I was just so miserable. I was just like, I just need to be home. This isn't good for me. So
okay. So you were personally unhappy. What? Like I'm thinking, why not like change majors or do something that does interest you and try to get that degree?
No, well, because I still did want to write.
Right.
And what was also interesting, like when I was applying to college, like we took a trip out to Syracuse and like saw like their media school and all that. And he was so pro, like he saw like how the landscape was changing, and he was like, you got to learn everything, like video, you got to learn how to shoot, you got to learn how to edit, you all of it.
Yeah.
And he was right, and I did, but he just, the piece of paper was so important to him that he wouldn't have, in that moment, he wouldn't have been able to understand unless I was like, no, I physically cannot go back. Can't do it.
Explain all that to him? Like,
yeah, and he's very understanding. I think he was just, I wouldn't even say disappointed, because a parent's disappointment's the worst thing that can happen, but like, he wasn't pumped.
Right.
He was like, if you're going to live here, you're going to get a job tomorrow. And I did, and that was security.
But he knew that you intentionally got yourself
I told him that, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it's almost one of those things, it's like if he thought that you just failed because like you didn't try or something, that would he have like forced you back? I guess there was no forcing back because the rule was around, right?
Yeah.
Like, you were gone.
Yeah, I could have went to like community college or some shit like that. But
okay. So begrudgingly he doesn't see eye to eye with you, but he begrudgingly is like, okay,
for sure,
how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So then you get the security job?
Yeah, like the next day because it was February, so it was alcohol compliance at Fenway Park. Like the dudes who like see if like an underage drinking's happening, which it's Fenway Park. So
that sucks.
What happened was I showed up and it was like 50 people in there, and the dude was just like, is Coley here? And I was like, yeah.
Coley.
And he was like, stick around afterwards. And I did, and he was just like, Rich Iannella, shout out him for giving me a job. He was like, what are you doing tomorrow? I was like, nothing, dude. He was like, I want you to go to this Shaw's parking lot at 6 a.m. in Dorchester and just sit there till 6 p.m., watch the parking lot, because it was a new contract. He was trying to get security for this grocery store. And I was like, got it. So I did that 4 days a week, 6 to 6, just sitting in a car
there.
in February.
Guarding a parking lot, a grocery store parking lot. Mm-hmm. It has to be the most inactive, like, security.
You wonder why I got blood clots, Kevin.
Dude was not moving.
I did such a good job sitting in my car that we got that that contract.
Hero.
And he was so happy. Because, like, a lot of security guards, too, are, like older or, like, not the sharpest knife in the draw. Like, no offense, but it is what it is.
And it's a job for those.
When he saw me and, like, my size and how young I was, he was just like, well, this is my fucking ace in the hole. Like, this is my number one guy. So he had me immediately, like, I never once did alcohol compliance. He had me do everything else. Like, so, like, I was Terry Francona's personal bodyguard for the 100th anniversary, which was a few months after the Red Sox had fired him and said he was a pillhead and he didn't want to be there.
That's the Boston way for a while.
Definitely.
That was crazy. They slandered everybody on the way out.
Everyone. They still do it. They did it with fucking Mookie when they traded him. Like,
crazy.
That's why I get so adamant about that stuff. Like, pay attention to what's happening. Don't fall for it every time. But, like, yeah, I would stay in these, like, crazy old, rich, like, apartment buildings that were going under construction, like on Beacon Hill. Like, I was doing like, it was cool places to be, but it was so depressing knowing how far away I was from, like, I was touching that life, but I was, like, fucking, it was like the Christmas Story. Like, I had little Timmy at home, like, and I could barely afford a turkey, and it was just like, this fucking sucks. So it was weird, like, the type of experiences I got doing that and the places I got to go. But
you're almost like a fly on the wall,
right?
Where it's like you're there. But
I'm the biggest invisible person of all time. Like, I was
right.
And so
I mean, that to me feels like you're one of those guys, like, when you hear a story about, like, man, there was a guy, like, better than Jordan, but, like, he was locked up or he never got a shot or whatever. There are dudes who are funnier than Chappelle, but, like, you know, had to take care of his family or whatever it is, you know? You were kind of one of those guys for a while. Like, in the sense of...
I appreciate the comparisons. I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, maybe not Jordan and Chappelle. But maybe. I mean, look around. There's not many, people on our level. So
I see how so many dreams get killed because you fall into especially people living check to check. Like, you don't have time to chase a dream.
No.
Like, you have to go get that money for that week. Like, you can't, like, I wasn't taking days off. I wasn't doing, like, it was just every day. Like, yep, I'm going. I got 2 days off a week. Other than that, I was working like 14 hours a day for like $1,800 a month, like nothing. Like, it was brutal. So it was just, I remember after like a year and a half, he was like, I'm giving you a raise. And it was like $1 an hour, which was the world to me. You know what I mean? So like, it wasn't and all that money was going to fucking just weed, just so I could have, like, be somewhat happy.
Right. So then when does weed school happen?
So there was.
And how does that happen? Is enough money saved up or is that not an expensive thing?
Well, it was only since it was new in Massachusetts. I think it was only like $1,000. I was one of the first people to sign up.
Yeah.
So what had happened was I saw an article, or what made me think about it. Like, obviously, I've always loved weed, and I thought it was an interesting industry to try and work in, and I was just doing security, and I think this might have been right after I got my blood clot. It had to have been, because that's when I was like, all right, I really need to, like, accelerate what I'm doing. Yeah.
And what happened there?
There was a terrible snowstorm. It was in February. Terrible snowstorm. So I had been shoveling my house, my parents' house, and it was, like, legitimately like 4 feet. So, like, I was shoveling all day, and then I would go work overnight, and then I'd come home and have to shovel my parking space and shovel for my parents so they could get out. And it was just like day after day of that. And so I was just fucking tired. So I sat down for one 12-hour shift and did not stand up. And the next day I woke up and I couldn't stretch my leg. And I was like, that's weird. And I had slipped the day before.
Without pain? Or like you physically wouldn't go all the way?
It was super painful. So it was like there was just like a balled up fist in there. And I like couldn't, I could stretch it, but the second I went back, it was like, couldn't do it again. So I thought I had torn something maybe, because I had slipped on some ice the day before, and I was like, doesn't really feel like that. And it was super, super hot, like boiling hot. And so I worked that next night, and then I got home, and I was just like, can someone take me to the hospital? And I told them, like, to check for a blood clot. They were like, you don't have a blood clot. And I was just like, can you check?
Shout out Chris Bosch, right?
That was part of the reason. Yeah, right? He had just got one like a few weeks. That's the only reason why it was on my mind.
I was going to say, I never in a million years would know to ask that.
Right. He had just got it, so it was on my mind. I Googled, which doctors hate that, when you Google symptoms and then you go.
Sometimes it's dead on,
Which this was. Yeah, and so I was like, can you please just check it? And this one guy, he was just like twisting my leg around. He was like, no, it's an ACL. And I was like, you get the fuck away from me. Like, I know what an ACL, I've never had one, but I've watched sports my entire life. Like, this is not an ACL.
Also, I mean, aside from, I guess you were shoveling some snow, but, sitting at a security, you weren't out there fucking,
I wasn't making cuts in the open field. And finally, they checked after, like, you really got to advocate for myself. If my father hadn't had the medical history he had, I wouldn't know to advocate for myself. If people aren't advocating for themselves at the hospital, like...
Isn't it so weird that, like, certain places, the hospital, in a serious way, something like the hospital, in a not serious way, the barbershop, like, in a restaurant when, like, you get, like, the wrong food and you're afraid to send it back, like, things that's just, like... Why, in certain positions, do we... If anybody is even handed a smidge of authority in the form of a fucking name tag or a coat or something, it's just like, I can't say anything. Well, I can't possibly speak up my, to
save
care for myself.
With doctors, like, I get they're playing like a game of elimination. You know what I mean? Like the process of elimination. Like, so I get that they don't have the easiest task, but like
you're throwing new ones in there,
right? But like when I'm telling you something, like I get they deal with probably a lot of like psychopaths every day,
hypochondriacs and all that shit.
Yeah, but like here I am, like, can you just check it out? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like we'll move on to your ideas. But I've had to be in there, like my father, like just like pointing in doctors' faces, being like, "I'm smarter than you, fuckface. Like check this," and he's always been right. So that's why I know to be like, "Hey, no, you check this, and then we can do your thing." Right. And I was right, and they were pissed.
I was gonna say that's a big time I told you so. Like, I wish I could enjoy this. I can't because I now know I have blood clots. But fuck, I told you so.
They gave me the medicine and went right away, and I was just like, all right,
was it like life threatening? Had they not caught it?
Oh, all blood clots are. Yeah.
But well, some are like I don't know how some can go to your.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer it would have taken, but like I took that injection and I took the fucking pill and it went right down and the pain went away immediately, and then I was just on pills for like 6 months and I had to stab myself in the stomach every day. And it was just like, it didn't hurt. It was like a weird, I almost miss it. Just like every day, just like a little stab. I was like,
what?
It was like a heroin addict starter kit for like a kid.
Just dipping your toe in there.
Yeah, it was very strange. It was very weird. But
all right, so you dodged that bullet.
But so I was, at that point, I was like, I need to change my life. I cannot be and I was like, at this point, I'm like 25 or something. I'm like, I'm wasting, I felt like I was in timeout from 21 to 25. Like just wasting the prime of my life.
I was going to say, it's a shitty time to waste.
Yeah, I didn't have any fun during those years. I always say,
to me, 22 to 26. So basically the same era was like my most fun time, like my favorite time of life.
But that was February, and then I started going to the gym crazy. Like I dropped crazy weight. I got in really good shape. And I'm glad I did, because that July I got into a crazy car accident, 4th of July night, because I was doing security, and it was 3 a.m, and someone ran a red light and T-boned me and fucking flipped my car 2 times. And I was on my side, so like the driver's side was down. And if I hadn't been working out, I wouldn't have been able to get I had to like press myself out of the passenger side to get out of the car.
You went out?
Yeah, I had to roll down that window. And go through it. Yeah. And if I hadn't lost all that weight, I would have been stuck in there. And who knows? Yeah, who knows what the fuck? Maybe the car explodes. Like, who knows what happens?
Yeah.
So
that's some action movie shit. The rolling of the car. So like were you were conscious the whole time?
Yeah, it was the slowest 3 seconds of my life, or 5 seconds. Like truly, time slows down. Like it's. I just remember waiting for.
How fast do you think he was going?
Like 50. Like he was flying.
And hit your side or the other side?
Hit the other side, passenger side.
Your side, you're probably cooked, right?
Who knows? Yeah. It was I'll never forget. Like it's Mattapan Square for anyone who knows that area. Like it's like a asterisk. Like it's one of the most dangerous intersections in the city. So to be at like 3:30 in the morning and to just be like, nah, he had to have been texting. There's no way he didn't see that red light, because everyone in the city, I don't care who you are, everyone in the city would not blow that red light just cause. Like he couldn't have been looking.
Was he drunk?
I don't think so. Yeah. I really don't.
Did he run it? Like, was there any like? Did he hit and run?
He did, but then I think he pulled over and saw that his license plate was embedded into my car, and he was like,
"Oh shit!
Well, fuck."
So just turn around.
Yeah, so he circled back before the cop got there, and he wouldn't even look at me because I was standing there. And I was chirping him, so I wanted to fucking kill him.
Yeah, I bet.
I was like,
but you're like, you're not concussed or anything at this point. Like,
no, I was furious.
Walk away
so
with
my father
scratches on you. That's it.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, I went home and smoked.
What kind of car are you driving?
Dodge Avenger. Shout out Dodge.
I'll
man. Always fuck with Dodge.
Yeah.
The rest of my free ad. That's a free ad.
Yeah, man.
This shit saved the fuck out of me. And I was wearing my seatbelt because I'm a smart boy.
Kind of a cool thing to survive.
It was. Like, I wish I had the picture of my phone was still in the car when I got out. I wasn't thinking about it. I wish I had the picture of it on its side. Like I only have the picture of it just mangled.
This is how so warped my brain is when bad things happen. I'm like,
content.
Good blog. Fucking asshole. I got a terminal disease. Awesome.
But so my father ran. He was like the manager of EMS, which is all the ambulances in the city. So he stocked them, and he was fucking big over there. When the marathon bombing happened, he just put on a jacket and went in. He was that dude. So when the cop came, and it's 4th of July morning, 5th of July now, so I understand they're busy. It's a busy night. So he was like, "Do you need an ambulance?" And I was like, "I'm fine, dude." But then I'm as the adrenaline's wearing off, I don't feel great. So I was like, "Yeah, I probably should get checked for a concussion just to be sure." And so he's just like, "Yeah, I'll call an ambulance." And then he was like, "The ambulance isn't going to come." And I was like, "Cool, thanks."
Shout out ambulances.
And I was like, "Yeah, my father's gonna love this."
Yeah.
He's just an old Italian dude. He's not the kind of guy you want mad at you at all
for anything.
And he had because he had cancer, so he had this super raspy voice. So everything he said sounded like a threat. Everything.
Just being a nice guy.
But so I was just like, "All right, well, can you how am I going to get home? The city of Boston's not New York. Shit shuts down. There aren't." He was like, "I'll drive you to the train station." I was like, "You're going to drive me to the middle of the hood?" No offense. The middle.
A police officer?
Yeah.
What
the
fuck?
He's like, "I'm going to drive you to the middle of the hood, drop you at the train station that's not coming for 5 more hours. And you can figure it out." I was like, "You're going to drive me the fuck home is what you're going to do."
Absolutely.
And he was like, "All right." And then I grabbed my backpack, and he goes, "Do you have any weapons or drugs in there?" I was like, "I don't care." And I just, because I did have both weapons and drugs. I was like, "Yeah, I'm a security guard."
Probably, motherfucker. Yeah. Now let's go.
I'm a security guard, and I'm depressed. So yeah, I've got both. You're going to drive me home. This motherfucker speeds me home. I was like, I was just in a major car. You don't have seatbelts back here.
He put you in the back?
Yeah.
Bro, for people who have been in the back of a cop car, it's not, it's not comfy back there.
It's plastic.
Yeah, they're not.
I'm sliding
your
around.
Leather seats, man.
I'm like, just get me the fuck home. He goes 90, gets me home. I'm like, sick, thanks, fuckface. And I just walk into my parents' room, and it was one of those moments where they were dead asleep, and they both just shot up. They could feel the energy.
Yeah.
They knew I was alive, obviously, and I was just like, "Yeah, car's totaled. Can someone drive me to the..." Or I didn't even want the hospital yet. I was like, "I'm going to go smoke." I smoked, then I started thinking about it. I'm like, "Yeah, go bring me to the hospital." Did you have
a breakdown moment at all? Or?
No, I was still just really angry. Because again, at that point, my car's I need to get to work. I'm still thinking about work. How am I going to do anything? That shit's, I knew it immediately it was fucking totaled. Immediately. And it was. But yeah, so I went to the hospital, didn't have anything. They didn't believe my story at all. They were like, "No, an ambulance would bring you here if you were in a car accident." I was like,
"You would think that."
Yeah, no shit. But that was the moment where I was like, I can't, I was already on that path, but that's when I was like, let's fucking go. So
Conan's speech, blood clots, car accident.
Yeah.
All combined for you to say.
Weed school.
Yeah.
Because at that point I was like, where can I combine passion and money the most?
Yeah.
What's going to get me the most out of both? And I was like, let me go be a master grower. So I started Googling, not Amsterdam. There's the green triangle out in Oaksterdam, Oakland. That's where all the marijuana reform started back in the 90s, was Oakland. So that's the Harvard of marijuana schools is Oaksterdam. So I was like, fuck, am I going to move across the country? I was like, yeah, I think I have to. And I was trying to plan out step by step, this is probably going to take a year or two to save up so I can live, get to the school, do all that, make connections. And so I Google it, and the first thing that comes up is Boston.com article, Oaksterdam set to launch Sister School
No.
in Massachusetts.
Holy shit.
And I was
Did
like...
you have a, fate moment? Like, this is meant for me?
1,000%. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was a little upset I wasn't moving to California, but I was like, this is way easier to sell to my parents. That this is the move. So I went home, and I was like, for Christmas, I want tuition. Like, that's my Christmas present, tuition for this. And my father was like, yeah, I like this plan. This is smart. I like this. So they paid for it. I was, I think, like the third graduate ever. But Massachusetts was dragging its feet with opening anything. Like, the real crooked shit's been going on with marijuana. Sure. Like, I don't want to break any news here, but surprisingly, they don't want to repeal those laws.
Who knew drugs and government are not exactly mixing and matching?
Yeah, so that's when, like, I had graduated. I was in probably the best shape, one of the best shapes of my life. Like, I truly believe, like, this, like, if you put, we're all here because of luck in some way, you know what I mean? But you do make your own luck. You can, you know what I mean? Like, I was prepared in the sense that I had put in all the hours. I was still watching sports religiously. But it was like, I had changed my mindset to a point where instead of being negative and being like, fuck the world, why it's cynical, why isn't anyone picking me? I was just like, I'm just going to go do me. And when someone else is ready, I'll be here. And that's when Gaz DM'd me again, and he was just like, "Hey, you wanna talk about a social media job?" And I was like, "The job I pitched to you guys last year that Dave told me wasn't a job."
And you pitched that in 11, like after your internship?
It was after, no.
Because like your internship was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a bad internship for me. It was.
But it was bad. I mean, it was good for content. It was bad for it's you,
Muskie, Elise.
Was Elise the one who went on to write Stool and all that, or no? No, that was somebody else.
Elise was super talented. She did a lot of like graphic design stuff. Like she was designing like merch and stuff. She was by far the most productive one. I think
she made my sloppy tuna like helicopter video.
Probably.
Like, which in hindsight was like, I think she just stitched together my fucking videos and put Kanye behind it. But it was like, I remember that. So wait, you, Muskie, Elise.
There were two girls. Nicole was one, and then I can't remember. Carrie was the other. Both of them lasted like a week.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't remember them at all.
No.
So you were like the standout of that, but that wasn't. Now you get an internship at Barstool. Like you work hard, you're gonna get a job. This was just like you're here for the summer, and that's really
good luck.
You got some credits, and that's it.
Well, I didn't.
Or whatever. Whatever the plan was. So,
but it was.
So my point being, you got like a cup of coffee with the internship. And then you were like, okay, that was cool. I'm done.
Well, I went back to UMass, and which was the biggest. That was the mistake I made. Was not if I had just kept hanging around. If I had dropped out and been like, I would have just done the blackout tour with fights and all them. Like that's what I would have done. Which who knows what that lifestyle would have done to me? But I would have just stuck around, and I'd still probably be here. You know what I mean? If I had just not gone back, because that was the summer we created the blackout tour,
right?
And that fall was when it launched. So I was an intern. And
so wait, what about all the like, I'm done with college, I'm like, it's not for me?
That it really sank in that semester after the internship.
Okay,
that's when it sank. So I did the internship that summer. I went back to school because that's just what I thought I had to do.
Got it. And so that was prior to making yourself
drop out. That was the summer. I went back in September. I was dropped out by February.
Got it.
And my father.
So you're saying, so had you not even just done that little bit, you could have done the blackout tour and just like.
Correct. Just none of this would be interesting. I would be a much different conversation.
Right.
I would have just done the blackout tour with like Devlin and fights and all them, that I would have just been one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would be. Yep. There would have not been a gap in my Barstool tenure. Like it wouldn't have been here. It would have just been one continuous thing. It's not like a regret. You know what I mean? But it's something I have thought about a lot. Like, I could have just done that and had a way cooler time.
Well, the blackout tour was cool for a minute, and then...
It's cooler than doing security.
Definitely.
I promise you.
Definitely. That I guess, is undeniable.
But when then Hank's 21st birthday... Hankapalooza. I happened to have that night off, one of my 2 nights a week off. And I don't know, I had tweeted at one of them earlier that day, and then Gaz, it's always Gaz, I always shout out Gaz. Like he's always... He's always been in my... He hired me as the intern, he brought me to he invited me to Hankapalooza, and he reached out when he realized social media needed a person doing that job. So I always shout out Gaz, but he was like, yeah, we haven't seen you in a long time, you should come through tonight, like we've got this table and stuff. And so I was like, cool. And so I went, and I'll never forget, Hank was already hammered. He just walked past me, and I was like, what's up? And I'd never met him, but we knew who each other were. And he was just like, eh. And then later that night, he was like, oh, you're Coley. And then, so that was always funny, but fights big time to me too. Which I gave him shit immediately for.
I think he hated you.
Did he? That's fine.
Well, no, I shouldn't speak for him, but I'm saying, at that point, were you still like smoking the blunt, like yo Portnoy? Like, were you still?
No, that was only that one video. Like,
yeah. Okay. So it was. But
I'm sure. I mean, most people still hate me because of that. Like people did not get the joke there at all.
That's what I mean. When you did that video.
Do you know why I did that video like that? I'm still not comfortable talking in front of a camera, like especially looking right into it. The only people I'd ever seen really do that, like again, this is a much different internet. The only people I had ever seen do that were Cameron and Joel Santana, who 100% of the time were smoking blunts in their videos. Right. And I was like, I smoke. I'll do that. This is easy.
Yeah.
And again, that was for a class. I got an A, no big deal.
Right.
But that was the whole reason I was smoking and talking like that. I was like...
And what were you calling out? What was that whole thing about?
I wasn't even calling out Dave, so I made the video...
Yes, you were? No?
Well, let me explain.
Okay.
We had to create a video that got views and comments. And I'm very lazy, especially when it comes to homework. Like, fuck homework, dude. Like, I can do this shit.
Did you see that video of that little kid recently?
No.
It's so funny. I'll play for you after. He's like 9 or some shit. He's like, school is for the teaching and the work. Home is where I chill. He's like, they're trying. It was like big homework, big school. And at the end, he raises his fist. He's like, put a fist up for my people all across the world.
I agree with him.
Yeah.
But we had to create an original YouTube video that got the most views and comments, and we were supposed to interact with the comments. Well, my video, which it was a once a week class, I filmed it like 20 minutes before that class was supposed to be attended. So I was just like, Dave and Sam Adams were coming to UMass, and I was like, let's try this. So I dissed, I put that very loosely, Sam Adams. And I had my hat, again, I was very uncomfortable. I had my hat
low,
down here.
Smoke fucking everywhere.
I wasn't smoking in that one.
No?
It's only like a 30 to 45 second video, the first one, which you might not have ever seen.
Maybe not. My vision of it is like...
Well, there are 2 videos.
Okay, so
this is the first video.
All right.
And I remember I made it, and we had to play it in class. And after I played it, I mean, it's just like a spoken word diss track. Like, it's horrible. Truly horrible. But I needed to make a video.
I can feel you fucking
I had to make a video. Well, I mean, I'm here. Like, I truly don't care, but it is bad. Like, objectively bad. And I played it for the class, and there was just silence. Everyone was like, it's like when you're like, all right, like that was the collect. Yeah. And so we just moved on, and I was like, well, that homework assignment's done. And then the next morning I wake up, and I just had all these texts. Like, I only posted it on YouTube and on my Facebook. That was it.
Okay.
Because I was like, I have enough people who follow me on Facebook. Like, this will get enough views. Like, I'll get a B here and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I get all these texts like, that's so cool you're on Barstool. I was like, boy.
That's not what you want to hear.
Yeah, well, it was, because it was my plan to try and goad them, because I wanted to get views the easiest way possible. I'll never forget, too, someone else in the class made like a slideshow of like hockey mustaches. And someone in the class was like, I bet this ends up on Barstool. And I was like, no, fucking well, this stinks. Like,
this is gonna know.
Yeah, this stinks. At least mine's trolling someone.
Yeah.
And so I see it, and Dave just writes, the Sam Adams haters have a face. And I was like, boy. And Dave's just tearing me apart. And I was like, all right. But then I'm reading the comments. Terrible idea. I'm reading the comments. All these people who still some people think I'm not from Boston. I'm the only person at this fucking company, other than RA, from Boston.
Yeah.
Like, to act like I'm not from Boston is insane. Like, So all these people like fake accent, fake this, like you don't even live in Boston. Like, no shit, I'm at UMass, dude. Like, congratulations.
Right.
So those are the people I'm really talking to. When I say grown, that's when I'd make the smoking video. I have my hat backwards.
Okay, that's what I was. That's
my
what
hat backwards. I'm smoking, talking shit. I'm wearing a Red Sox hat this time because people had a big problem with me wearing a Tigers hat in the first one, and that's when I was like, people not from the city, like this is the second most worn hat in Boston because of Dorchester, which is true, but people did not like that logic at all. It's like a 5-minute video of me talking shit, and I'm like Davey Dave, Portnoy, all that shit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because I'm addressing him because he addressed me.
Sure.
And so, and again, part of the assignment, I have to respond to these comments. Like, there are a lot of comments, Kevin.
Right.
And so I'm talking shit. I'm talking too long. My blunt keeps going out.
Yes.
This is where Dave's like, it's falling apart. I broke pearls, Kevin. It's not falling apart. But it was going out, so I did have to keep relighting it. And I'm just smoking, and I'm talking my shit, and I say grown men hiding behind the internet. And people thought I was talking about Dave. Dave's Dave. Like, he's not hiding. I'm talking about the comments who are hiding, I've never been anonymous online. Like, I am who I am. I'm not afraid. A lot of people are. A lot of people are afraid to say something and put their name behind it. Yeah. And that's who I was talking to. And the next week when we go in, and that one, Dave obviously posts again, and in that one he goes, I've done a 180 on this kid. I like this kid. He was like, I didn't expect him to keep talking.
At that point, did you have a feeling of kind of like, oh, wait a minute? Like,
not really, because I wasn't, Barstool was so much different then. Yeah. It was so much, like, you weren't a thing yet. Like, this was 2010. Like, this. No,
I was there.
Were you?
I was there in 2009. But
okay. Well, this is back when if you were from Boston, you didn't like Barstool.
You didn't like New York. Yeah.
You didn't read Philly. Yeah. You only read.
I respect.
You only read Barstool, and I didn't have a problem with you. It was just, why would I read New York shit? Absolutely. Like, I don't give a fuck about New York.
Right.
And there was no super page yet, so it was like hard to go find your stuff.
The stupidest title. The super page, the super blog, just a website.
Correct.
Yeah. I was like, what's it good? Like,
one website,
3D or something? Like, no, it's just a website.
It does the reading for you. Yes. So when he said that, because I've never had a problem with Dave. I was a fan of the site. Sure. Like the reason I had this idea to make the videos because I knew
about
the things were happening.
How it worked, yeah.
And so the next week I go into the class, and the teacher hadn't been in the previous week for whatever reason. He just had us come in, play all our videos, and leave. This week, I walk in last of all the kids, and everyone's just giving me this fucking look, like, you motherfucker. And so I sit there, the teacher walks in, like, takes off his bag, and he's just like, so some of you had varying levels of success with this project. I'm just going to start with someone at random. Coley. What the fuck happened there? And I was just like, I think I got an A.
I was going to say I delivered an A+, motherfucker. That's what happened there.
When it was all said and done between the two videos, I'd racked up 500,000 views. Wow. I have no idea how many comments. A lot.
Yeah.
The next closest was 1,000 because someone went to the Boston Marathon and like filmed that and like just that was like highlights of the marathon. So they played the algorithm.
Right.
But like it was like 500,000, 1,000, and then like a couple hundred for everyone else. And so
I win.
I was like, I think I know the internet a little bit more than these people.
Yeah.
But then Dave came up to UMass because that was where he was having the concert, and we just talked for a little. And like I didn't hate the guy, still don't. So I was just like, it was good back and forth. I talked to Sam for a while, smoked with him. I've never had real problems with him. I don't like people who aren't from Boston claiming they're from Boston. That's what I've never liked that. Right? His album was called Boston's Boys, so I was like, no, you're not. It was never like a problem with the content. It was a problem with the title. I was like, what are we doing here? RA feels the same. I know he does. Like we do not. We're very protective of who gets to claim it.
Anybody like claiming a city when
it's like Westchester fucking kids being like, I'm from Harlem. The hood. Like, no, you're not.
No, that's everywhere.
Yeah. So again, we were cool. We talked. We smoked. That was it. Didn't think much of it. I already knew Devlin. He was the intern that summer, 2010. He was the first intern.
Right.
I already knew him just from playing basketball at the rec center and stuff. So I was like, that's interesting. So then the next summer when I saw the call out to be an intern, I hit him up and I was just like, what do you think I should do? Like, how should I go about it?
Right.
Because I'd done like a newspaper the summer before, didn't really like that, but I was like, let's try this. They already know who I am. I'm sure this will be pretty easy. I wrote this long ass email. which I didn't realize at the time they would hate. And then Gaz was like, yeah, just come in for an interview, dude. Like, I don't care. I didn't read any of this. I just saw your name.
So then Hankapalooza, I think, was where...
Yeah, several years later. That whole night, Dave just kept talking to me about Twitter. Because I was the most active person. I was always tweeting. Because I was dying inside, Kevin. I was calling for help.
Which, I mean, you know it's bleak when Twitter... the most like toxic death abyss hole in the world is your source of life.
Yeah, I was just like on an island, like anyone, please. And he just kept asking me. He was like, "What is Twitter? Like, what are you doing?"
I remember, along with every other thing in this world, from podcasting to apps to. I remember Dave saying to me, who needs an app? Why would you need an app? We just have the website." He was like, you can just go to it on your phone. I was like, have you seen what it looks like when you go to it on a computer, let alone on your phone, Dave? Who needs an app? Who needs social media? Who needs podcasts? I'm like, God damn it, YouTube. Why would we use YouTube when we have Bright Cove?
I at least kind of understand owning things and trying to get all the views. I get it.
No, that I get. I understand that we needed to pay bills too. It's like, if you told me, listen, Bright Cove views are paying your salary, so shut the fuck up.
Right.
Fine. But along with that was like, why YouTube?
Correct.
I can't believe. I remember being like, in the year of our Lord 2018, I'm pitching YouTube as if it's like some up and coming thing. I'm like, it's the #1 video platform and has been for like 12 years. Maybe we should get involved with that.
Yeah.
No, they kept
Google
telling me there's a hole
because they
in the
thought
bucket.
It sucked. Yeah.
We can't have a hole in our bucket. I was like, I don't know what that means. Just use the biggest video platform.
Get a different bucket. Yeah.
Fucking Billy Mays that shit. Seal the hole. Let's go on YouTube.
We can buy another bucket. Stop saying bucket. But so when he kept talking about Twitter, that set off a signal. I was like, he wants me to run their Twitter. Mm-hmm. So, and this was dumb. I just went there like 2 days later because this is the Hank Trollgate happened the next day.
Franny Lydon.
So I was like, let me give this a week.
Yeah.
let them cool off.
Yeah.
And so I just went in there the next week to the old office, HQ1, and I just walked up to his office and he just looked at me and said, what the fuck are you doing here? And so I pitched him social media, and I'll never forget, he just looked me dead in the eyes. He said, that's not a job. And I said, all right. And so I left, and that's when I was like, well, I'm done there. Like, there's nothing. That was part of the reason I was just like, well, I got to do this weed thing. Because he told me that's not a job. It's not a job. Right. And I know he doesn't like my writing, so what else do I got?
Sure.
And then Gaz reached out. He was like, hey, we're creating this social media position. I was just like,
funny how that happens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Gaz like thinking of me, but they had me try out against one of the Chicago guys. I can't remember which one. I really don't remember. But it was that.
The current Chicago guys?
Yeah. One of them was
one of the people on the roster right now.
Yeah. I'm mostly sure. I'm 99% sure. Because they weren't full-time yet, so they were trying to get people in, like Big Cat was trying to get people in from there, because obviously they're great. But I'll never forget, he was like, yeah, we want to see how you do. Like, we're not just going to hand you the job.
Meaning like live tweeting for
they had me try out with the main account. Like, they had me log into the main account.
A rehearsal, if you will.
I would take one night, they would take one night, I would take one night.
And we're talking live tweeting or just everything.
They didn't, again.
Commenting on memes and trends.
Kevin,
we didn't know
Kevin,
that shit.
You'll be surprised. This isn't a big instructions company. They told me
to point you in the right direction.
They told me to run the Twitter. I ran the fucking Twitter. Mm-hmm. And it was a bloodbath.
I can't even imagine.
Shout out the Chicago guys. I love all of them. You never had a chance.
Yeah.
Never had a chance.
You were the first person that made me realize that there truly is an art to
I appreciate
social media where like I think at that point I was able to live tweet, I was able to post, but like to really be up on the trends and the memes.
It's a lot. That's when we were talking about earlier, like how much work goes into it. Like you be paying the fuck attention.
Yeah.
You can't miss a thing.
I mean, even little things. I think at that point was maybe like the first time the like Bay come over.
Right.
Like popping, and things like that. Where I was like, oh, that was funny like that. I get it, Where it's not just like, you can't just always be your thoughts. You got to use the right GIFs and pictures and memes or whatever. I remember that. That's when I was like, oh, this is the real.
My biggest strength is just knowing where to find things. Mm-hmm. Like I'm like
following the right people.
I'm like a pig, like searching for truffles. You know what I mean? Like, so the
like that.
The one video that truly, I knew I had it then, and this was like the second day I did it. Steve Smith Sr., apologies, I don't want him mad at me. He was on the bench just being like 37, trash, 42, trash, like just calling every corner on the other team. And that got like 15,000 retweets from the main account, and I was just like
clipping that and posting it?
Yeah. Just being like, that's me, put that on there.
Sure.
When the numbers ran up, I was like, oh, they haven't come close to these kind of numbers. And it was just like, everything else I was doing was working. This was right when What a Time to Be Alive dropped. So I remember the Seahawks were playing, so I made like a Russell Wilson joke. Like,
sure.
And like, this was just, I was in my bag, big time. Jason
Great time
Tatum.
To get hot.
Yeah, I was like, this is...
I remember for me, it was the butt fumble night.
Uh-huh.
So what's that, like 10 or 11 maybe? One of those years.
Yeah.
Maybe, whatever.
It was a bigger game for you guys than me. That was just another demolishing of the Jets.
But it was,
they all kind of blend together.
It was Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
it was
sure
like
was.
national TV. And I remember, and obviously, blessed with this fucking crazy... Not even just the butt fumble, everything. They scored like 37 points in like a minute. You know what I mean? And I remember like every tweet I sent was, at the time it was probably like 100 retweets, but like at that point it was like, holy shit.
It's the slot machine. Like, I always say it's a slot machine. When you pull the lever and everything starts spinning, when your Twitter is hot, it's a slot machine.
Yeah,
you pull it and it just keeps
going. Yeah. And I remember feeling like, oh wow, like that's a tipping point of some sort where you figured out see the matrix a little bit.
For me, it was the Tim Tebow to Demaryius Thomas against the Steelers. That, at the moment, was the most tweeted about thing in the world per second. The thing that beat that was Beyonce the first time she was pregnant and showed up on the red carpet. That became the most. That's when I was like, oh, people are really here. Like, people are looking here. Like, there's something, like, this is now like a companion for live shit. So that's when it clicked with me, like, oh, there is something here. And once I got in the rhythm, and again, it was like a Bane thing. Like, I was born in the darkness of Twitter.
Yeah, I'm ready for this shit.
The second I got an opportunity, once I had that main account logged in, like, I knew I was getting logged out. Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah, and again, there's no disrespect, but there was no one who was it could have been me versus Tyler. No, like, I would have blown, like, just because of where I was at in that time, like, and Tyler's way better tweeter than me, but these are funnier.
Everything coming off the fingertips.
Yeah, there was perfect. I was a fucking hungry dog.
That's where,
faster.
I think you mentioned luck earlier, and like you do need it.
Absolutely.
But it's 1/3 of like the barstool, if you will, or the tripod, where it's like you need that luck, but you gotta have that talent.
And you gotta be prepared. Like, I was prepared for that opportunity, and I was not going to lose it. And so that was September. October 1st, they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna offer you the job. How much do you need to quit your job?" I was like, nothing.
$6 per hour.
Yeah, I said such a low number. Like, I said a number that I thought was high based on how much I had been making. And like, I hit send and Dave said done, like, before I'd hit it. And I was like, I definitely could have got more than that. That was
the
stupid.
worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, I was like, fuck.
I could have like quadrupled that number.
Yeah, so then I did that for the next year just out of my house. And so I signed in October. Chernin bought us in December.
Good business, good time.
The move to New York was announced, and like at that point, I'd been back 3 months. I wasn't expecting anything like to be a part of that move, but
by the
time the move was actually happening, and it was like June or July or whatever it was, we moved here in September, so it was like June or July when I had still been doing it for a year, and it was like, oh, they're really not even going to ask if I want to come.
Mm-hmm. I remember that being a thing.
Yeah.
It was, like Trent and a few other guys were not like included, and I remember thinking, this is fucked up. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I didn't take it like super personally, but like I was at a point in my life where I was like, I need to get out of my parents' house. Like, I'm 26 now. Like, I need to get out, like, be on my own. Like, this is a challenge I really want, being in New York. And, like, my thought process was, if I'm stuck in Boston, I'll only ever be the social media guy. I won't be able to do anything else. Like, I'll be stuck in this.
At that point, you needed to be under the same roof in front of people's faces and whatnot.
Right. And so I was like, I can't. Like, and all my friends were down here. Not even at this company, just in general. All my friends were down here. So I was like, I need to get to New York. They're not asking me to move to New York. I'll apply at Complex, which I did. Right. And I got that job immediately. I signed that it's like A-Rod on the Red Sox. I signed that contract.
Really?
Yeah.
To just run their social media?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was much more than what I had agreed with for here. And I called Dave to put in my 2 weeks, and I was like very thankful. I was like, I really appreciate everything. Like, I just need to be in New York. And he was just like, all right. And he hung up, and I just had this like awful feeling in my stomach. I was like, this feels like a mistake immediately. And after I hung up, because he was like, have you called Gaz yet? I was like, I wanted to call you first. He was like, okay. So I called Gaz.
And he didn't put up a fight or anything. He was just like, "That's your decision."
He was so caught off guard.
All right.
He didn't understand like what I was saying really. He was like, "What do you mean you're not still gonna work here?" So I called Gaz.
Well, at that point, very few people, still to this day,
for sure,
very few people quit Barstool.
Yeah,
so in Dave's mind, he's like, "You've made it to the top." Like,
right.
You're not going anywhere.
And he's not wrong, but I was
not even a notion that someone would ever actually
right. Quit. And it wasn't like there was no hostility from my end. Sure. I just was like very thankful and just kind of laid it out. And so I called Gaz, thanked him, told him, and then they talked for what had to have been 1 second, because after I hung up with Gaz, my phone rang, and it was Dave, and he was just like, "What do you mean you're not gonna work?"
Hang on a second.
He was like, "I don't think I heard you the first time."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm gonna work at Complex," and he was like, "No, you're not." And I was like, he was like, "Would you work for?" Like, he was like, "What do you want from us?" And I was like, "I just need to be in New York, and I can't do that on the current salary, and you didn't ask me to move to New York." And he was like, "Well, what would you do in New York?" I was like, "What are you doing in New York?" Like, that's where our company is. Like, now we have a thing. Like, I want to be a part of that. Right. And he was just like, all right. He was like, "All right, what's the price?" And I told him what Complex was going to give me. And so he was like, "Let me talk to Erica," who I'd never talked to. Right. Like, so she didn't know I existed.
Right.
And so he called Erica. And he was like, "This guy wants to move to New York." And she was like, "Well, what does he do?" He was like, "Well, he runs all of our social media." Because it was just me.
Whole thing.
It was just me and Gaz. So I was running Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
24/7,
fucking Snap, like whatever, all of it. So when he told Erica that, she was like, "Why wasn't he already coming to New York? Like, why is this a person we have to have this conversation about?" Mm-hmm. And so she approved the raise that was required for me just to be able to afford to live here.
It's cost of living,
I called Complex like 10 times. They never answered. So the day I was supposed to start, they were like, "Where are you?" I was like,
I tried, bro.
I was like, "Check your voicemail." Like,
wow.
And they were furious, but like, pick up the fucking phone, dude. What do you want from me? Like, I don't. And at that point,
shit, that's funny.
It was like I'm burning a bridge, but now I'm like I never wanted to leave here. I truly didn't. It was more about I needed to get out of Boston. I needed to get to New York. Like, and like I felt bad, but fuck it. Like I'm here now. Like you're the enemy.
When I was in 5th and 6th grade, my family, we went through a weird time where we like lived separately. My grandfather was dying. My mom wanted to be with him. So like for a minute, me and my mom moved to the Bronx. Back from Philly, my dad and brother say we had this like, separate family thing going, but then my grandfather died earlier than expected. So bottom line, long story short, we went back and forth a couple times in 5th and 6th grade, and I remember my dad getting a letter from the school PS 175 in the Bronx, being like, "Your son hasn't been to school for 165 days because when it came time to move, we just picked up and left, and we didn't even really like do the proper like." I don't know, dropping out, or if you will, we just left, and I started going back to school over here, and they were like, "Where the fuck are you, dude?"
It took them a while.
It's been like 6 months, bro. Like they were like getting ready to do like like middle school graduation, and we're like, "He's not here."
Yeah,
that's funny though. The Complex
sounds for the best. You didn't stick with that school.
Yeah, no, that school was that was an experience. I remember getting there from we did like a couple years outside of Philly, and those schools were much better. And I walked in being like, "You guys are a little bit behind here." Like we were, I didn't learn much, put it that way. But so Complex thinks you're showing up like day one to run.
I mean, again, if we think we're bad at like responding to emails and stuff like that, like I genuinely made an effort because I didn't want to be a dick. Like they gave me a job, I appreciated it, but like it wasn't gonna like there was nothing at that point too. They could have been like, "We'll give you $200K." Like no, it was not about the money. It still really isn't. It was like I knew they thought they were edgy because I remember in the meeting I was like, "Oh, I can swear on your account." They're like, well, no. And I was just, because I remember them bragging about, like, yeah, we could be edgy and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know if you guys know what edgy is.
Yeah, oh my God. If you're bragging about being edgy, you're not edgy, bro. That's
and so, like, again, I knew it was another, like, when I tried out for this social media job, like, I knew I was going to get that if I applied. Sure. I did.
Again, it's like you got the resume without people knowing it, really.
Yeah, like it's just something I'm truly better than other people at. Yeah. Like it just is what
Isn't
it is.
Isn't that good to feel like you're good at something?
Yeah. Like, I wish it was something cooler, but it is what it is.
No, though. I mean, like right now in this era, like it's pretty good to be good at social media.
Yeah, but if I could be that good at like basketball, that's what I'd prefer.
Yeah, that would probably be ideal.
Yeah,
but I was like that good at like coding.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
I could be an app inventor. Yeah,
that would. But
I always felt that way about blogging because that's the one thing I think I'm good at. And I'm like, I can do this better than you.
Right.
I can, give us 2 topics. We give us the same topic, 2 blogs. Mine will be better.
Correct.
Having that true, like actual confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
Being confident in something is amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I could do it for some other things. Like
absolutely.
Everything else in life, basically. So, and then we get into the mixtape years.
Yeah.
Where you do social media for a while. You just have the itch to do more. You're like, that
was the whole point. Like at that point too, I like much like I've said this to Dave's face too. I don't lie. So like when I tell him like I want to come to New York to do more than social media, like I wasn't joking.
What I'm doing.
Like I'm here to do more than just this. So that October,
and people have to remember there was a time where like now it's like we want everybody to come in and try and throw it against the wall and stick and be and back then it wasn't that though. It was like we got a thing going and that's it. And social media was almost even the way we sometimes like producers and cameramen want to get on camera. And we're very much like, you have to do the behind the scenes stuff. Back then it was like, you're just social. We're good. We'll handle the podcasting. And there wasn't as much of an encouraging vibe at that point.
But we've, at the same token, since I failed so gloriously as an intern, because I kept waiting for someone to tell me what to do. Once I got back here, and I'd always told myself this, when you get back there, just do everything.
Just go.
Do. Yeah. Don't ask, don't wait, just do. So that October, I mean, we'd been there a month. That October, I was already pals with Tyler. We had already done a couple podcasts, like his podcast. And so I was like, hey, we're going to do Mickstape. Like, this is, like, I was like, do you want a different name? He was like, I don't really care.
That's awesome.
Tyler was very trusting of me when I had a vision. He was like, yeah, no, I'm good with it. Merch, everything. He was very supportive. And just
it was such a cool logo with him with like the Bane mask.
Which he already had.
Right, it was his logo with your Fruity Pebbles and name. So it was kind of a
melding, because I was like, the name's pretty much my name, so let's get your logo. Yeah, and then I'll add the Fruity Pebbles, which we both love. So there was a lot of synergy there, which turned out to be beautiful. I still think it was the best logo of any podcast ever. Like,
it's cool.
And then when
the shirt with the fucking like the
all over. Every time I go to our merch department, like we have a lot of people here, yourself included, who make very cool merch. But like every time I go to them, they're like, we don't have the capabilities to do what's in your brain. And it started with that Fruity Pebble shirt.
It can't be done.
They were like, we don't know what you're talking about. That's why I love Trig. Shout out Trig, because he's like an extent, like my brain and his arm are attached. Huge. Like when I tell him something I want, like it
comes out that way.
Yeah, he does. Like he's just
that's invaluable, man. Whether it's incredible. A merch person or more specifically for me with editing and videos. Like when I do a 1 minute man, I send it off to BC. Don't talk to him again.
Right.
And the movie reference that I made has the right scene and the right picture and all that. I'm like, boom, done. Don't have to worry about it.
It's a special thing. And Mickstape had that with everyone. But that October we started just on our own. And we did a cut, like we weren't on the network yet or anything, but I was staying late every night because I knew I couldn't do it in the middle of the day because it wasn't a Barstool property. So I'd wait till everyone left and I'd call Tyler from the shittier podcast room and we would just record. I'd put it out on SoundCloud. They weren't that long at first.
No.
They were only about an hour.
I mean, everybody started on SoundCloud. KFC Radio was on SoundCloud. We did Starting 9.
Well, that was
Section 10 on that.
That was the RSS feed that needed to, like, it was the easiest to both play it and get it onto iTunes. Yep. So we would upload it to SoundCloud. I knew people were listening to it because at least SoundCloud, you can see how
the
many
views.
people. And then you're
beautiful.
like, I know more people are definitely listening on Apple too. So I was like, this is getting a pretty decent audience for no one pushing it but me and Tyler. And then we had done like 2 episodes, and Big Cat was like, come on, Pardon My Take. Like, the NBA season's about to start. You guys have a basketball podcast. Come on, Pardon My Take. I went on Pardon My Take. Big Cat introduced it as the Barstool Basketball Podcast. And Dave was furious. He was like, we have this whole plan for podcasts. Like, you guys just kind of did this, and now people think it's official. And I was like, oh, well.
I was going to say, man.
I was like, I'm sorry, but like, that doesn't, I'm not upset about, like,
don't
this
even
is.
Get me started with the plan for podcasts.
No, I know, but like, we were new to New York. We were the churning guys giving us good information. So again, I understand why he was mad at me. But oh well. I wanted to do this. And he was like, we were thinking about these other people for podcasts. And I was like, where are they? Because the season starts tomorrow.
And I'm here.
I'm already doing it. Like, if they're not already doing it, like, that's been his biggest thing always. Show me you can do it. Don't tell me you can do it. I'm showing you right here. Like, you think if Big Cat's going to co-sign something that fucking sucks?
Right.
Big Cat and PFT are the reason we got picked up by this. Because Dave was not going to listen to a 2-hour mixtape to decide whether or not it was
Dave's
good.
not going to listen to, like, anything, you know?
PFT went to him during the Super Bowl trip that year, a couple months. So we did it independently from October through January. It was that Super Bowl plane ride where he listened to it a little. And I mean, me and Tyler are both very dry and sarcastic, which Dave does not love.
No,
so he was like, Dave was like, I don't really get it. But PFT really went to him and was like, you want this podcast.
Yeah.
And so Dave was like, I trust PFT because he also doesn't understand PFT.
I was going to say, that's another guy who he's like, I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, I think it's going to work, dude.
But PFT and Big Cat were very much in our corner, so I've always appreciated that, and they really pushed him behind closed doors to be like, pick it up. So we launched the same day as Foreplay on the Barstool Sports Network, and it was such a fun moment for me. And I love that we got to do that show. And when everything fell apart at the end, obviously it wasn't either of our faults, but when it all fell apart, I had so many people who were like, why did you even do it at Barstool to begin with? Like, you could have done this anywhere. And I was like, are you out of your fucking
I don't get
mind?
That. Yeah.
Do you, like, where else was going to allow us with complete free reign? Like, no one was, I was editing it. And by editing it, I mean, I would put a song at the end.
Not editing it, yeah.
There was no editing happening.
Right.
Like, I would trim it when I was waiting on Skype for Tyler to log in. Like, I would trim the dead air.
Going on.
But I wasn't taking things out. Like, it was, we had cold opens, which we didn't at first. We let in, we found our, KFC Radio today isn't the same as it was fucking with Jay Cutler sitting there. So we found our footing pretty quickly, and we found something that people really, really liked, and it became a joke how long the episodes were, but I kept looking at
ads being long and all that.
Yes, which we got yelled at for doing long ad reads that were very integrated into the show, and then so we did really boring ad reads, and then we got yelled at for that. And I was like, "That's what happens,
motherfucker.
That's what happens when you fucking nerds tell me how to do my job." Like, I'm gonna go back to doing them the way people will talk about them.
I remember we were doing, right? That's what's called, the skin stuff.
Yep.
And we talked about facials, and like how cum doesn't fix your skin, so. And they play that to this day as an example of what not to do. And I'm proud of that one. That's my most proud.
We were selling.
We got the people talking.
We were selling these drinks. I don't want to say the company because I really like the company still, and they're good partners. But we were selling these drinks. It was a big company push. Everyone was selling them. One of them was red. One of them was blue. Me and Tyler made the point that this is very blood and crip friendly. They didn't appreciate that.
They don't like being gang related.
But we were saying they were embracing the gang.
Yeah,
Kevin. I still think we were in the right there. They disagreed. Man. They never advertised with us again. It is what it is.
The companies who get that are the cool.
I get why this company wanted to be a little safer. But
sure, but the companies that also say, like, I get what you're doing, are going to sell a fuck ton and get
right. And we definitely had the most people buying those drinks because people were tweeting them at us. So I know we were in the right there, but it is what it is. But yeah, the people who were like, "Oh, you guys could have always done this elsewhere." Like, no, the fuck, no one was watching.
You could do it. It just wasn't gonna be any. It
wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been like it would have been neutered. Like
you could. Oh, listen, you could go somewhere else and completely neuter it, or you can do it on your own and do it for nobody and
Right.
So,
and we like, especially people only see where we are, not where we started.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, we have this audience now because of what we've been able to do all these years. Like, we wouldn't have been able to travel the way we traveled. Like, no other company's going to stuff me on an 18-hour train to go play to go play in the MLS Celebrity All-Star Game, Kevin, for my basketball podcast.
That was insanity.
With fucking Waka Flocka like that. No other company.
That is Mad Libs.
Right.
Like blank got on a blank to go to blank with blank. Coley, train, MLS, fucking All-Star Game, Waka Flocka.
Yeah, like that.
What?
For the basketball podcast.
For Mickstape.
So,
totally.
Like the idea that, like, yes, now, today, I could go to another company and do that show the way I wanted to, for sure. At the beginning, no one was going to do that. Now that we've established that we could, yeah, of course, and still we would get comments and, oh, you can't do it. Like, shut the fuck up.
Right. Was there or is there any thought of doing that?
No. Me and Tyler had a lot of talks during that time. I still understand why he made his decision, and he understands, and I believe respects why I did mine. I mean, it was
meaning to stay.
It was. He
like there. What was there a conversation of like, I'm gonna go because I don't want to work here anymore? Like, come with me.
No, because I never pushed him to stay, and he never pushed me to leave. Because I recruited him here to come here.
Sure.
And he knew I had more skin in the game here than he did. Like, he viewed it as a job, as more people should. Like, it's a healthier way to do it. He viewed it as a job. Like, this is my life for a lot of reasons. And it did not help that it was in the middle of a pandemic and I just had a baby. Like, that was not the time for me to make any, like, just logistically. Moves. I'm not even talking about how I felt, because I still feel this is the best place for me to work, without a baby or not. Like, without a shadow of doubt, this is the best place for me to work for a lot of reasons. I like it here a lot. Someone else making what I truly believe to just be a mistake. Like, nothing, no vitriol. If I truly thought we had terrible people working here with bad intentions, I wouldn't work here. Sure. But I don't believe that. Right. So I'm not just going to quit. You
don't feel like you're selling your soul or anything like that?
No, I don't. I really don't. Right. And I'm not going to quit just to get some fucking pats on the back from internet strangers. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. Yeah. People can think whatever they want about me. Sure. But, like, I'm very comfortable in my day-to-day life. Like, when we fuck up, do I love it? No, I don't love it. Do I think we can make this? Like, it's the same way when people are like, well, if you don't like America, just move. Like, why? I just like to make America better. Like, I'd like to make this place better. Sure. Like, these are mistakes that people, that's what I like, that we're allowed to have mistakes, talk about those mistakes, and try and fix them. Do we always do it? No. Are we perfect? No. My other thing, too, is what other company has this, like, great background? Like, where with the guy at
some of the other places, it's going to get worse.
Much worse. And so it's just like, all right, if I'm going to be in this industry, I'm going to have to be okay with something somewhere.
Right.
Like, otherwise...
You're going to have to spite your tongue or swallow your pride.
It's not even that,
because I call it on some level.
I didn't even bite my tongue last summer. Like, the people...
Right, you spoke... Yeah, that's what's crazy, is like, name a company where you can then speak out and say, I think you're wrong, or you fucked up, or whatever.
Like, and there are people who are like, oh, you said Dave was racist. No, I didn't.
Never happened.
I never did. Yeah. I told him what he said was wrong. Right. And whether or not he wants to...
In the moment you did as well?
Yeah.
Like, after the fact you did?
In real time when it was happening, I said, don't do this. Yeah. And, like, he didn't listen. It is what it is. He doesn't have to listen to me. Right. But I wasn't going to, like, I have to quit because of that?
Sure.
Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, people got to, like, put yourself in somebody's shoes or break it down to a real life level. Like, I'm going to lose my paycheck, especially like you said, right now.
Yeah, I'm going to lose my health insurance.
Child
like, what
insurance,
are you talking
benefits,
about? And that's
wife.
But the other side of that, Tyler quitting with all those same things, incredibly brave. And has all the respect in the world. No, well, the pandemic was happening to him too, Kevin. But he went out there, he took a huge risk. He could have easily just been like, this will pass.
Right.
But he looked at
or even like, you know, the other, like, a lot of people are like, so my boss sucks, or my boss is racist, or whatever he thought in his mind.
Right.
And like, and I'm gonna just deal with that. Like, but he was like, no, I'm gonna like do what I think is right.
Right.
What I need to do. Yeah.
I respect 1,000 for, like, there's still like, at least I'm under the impression there's a mutual respect there between both of our decisions. And I don't think we really care what the other people have to say about it. Like,
there inherently is some level though of like, if you both chose to handle it differently, that
was chaos.
You view it this way, he views it that way, right? Mm-hmm. And was there was no talk about that? There was no trying? I know you said you're not trying to convince, but like, was there ever a conversation of like, you really think this, or like, how come you don't think that, or from both sides?
No, I mean, I think it's just like, listen, I mean, I don't like to mince words. Like, he's a black man in America. I'm a white guy in America.
Right.
Like,
you're gonna just view things differently.
It's different on like, it's a different responsibility on my plate than it was on his, and that is what it is. Like, I felt it was my place to speak about what was happening in that time truthfully, because I was like, in real time, I thought this was wrong. My opinion hasn't changed now that it's fucking
blown up,
public information. Like, it was already public. Like, I still think that was dumb. Like, I've worked here for these last few years already knowing that was dumb. Just because you just found out about it, that would make me a fraud. Like, he wasn't there when that happened. Like, he didn't see the video. When he saw the video and then everything that happened after, he was like, this sucks. Like, why? And all of it, that was the other part. All of it fell on him.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
And he was on an island in Atlanta, and he had to deal with all of it. And then other things came out that made him look worse. And he was
then it got extremely real.
Right, which I can't blame that for being the reason he left, because the only reason that happened was because the other thing happened first. Yeah. But that certainly didn't help. That was the craziest thing
out of that whole saga. There's a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah.
A lot of words, lyrics, and things that was crazy. But to unknowingly be published on a song,
that's where he
called that. Without, you got to give someone a heads up if you're going to put someone on a show with that being the title.
And the difference too there is like, he was the most online out of any of those people.
He had the most like reputation.
People
knew him.
He's just sitting there on that graphic.
Oh my God,
grinning like a Cheshire cat. And fucking, it's like, of course people are going to be like, oh, look at
that is not the one. Man.
And like at that point, like, why the fuck would you stay? Like,
at that point,
what are you talking about? And he understands.
Was there a chance? Like, was there a point where something might have been salvageable, and then something else happened, and you were like, all right, never mind?
I don't know. I think at that point, I don't want to speak for him. I really don't know.
But from your point, what did you like? Did you think he was going to leave all along? Did you know? Were you surprised? Were you
in the moment? I really couldn't call it, just because even if it wasn't something internally that happened here, there was so much happening in the world that I don't know, he would have been like, maybe I should just try my own. Like, he's not the only person I've seen be like, you know what, fuck a job. I'm going to do things, or fuck a salaried job at another company working for some white guy I don't know. Like, I'm going to just own my own stuff. And he had a big enough audience at that point where it seemed feasible. He's made enough connections. But it was funny when he told me he wasn't going to come back and we were talking, I was just like, how many places have reached out? And this is to the people who have always said like, oh, you could do this anywhere. Even when he knew he was resigning and he had said he resigned, he got 0 phone calls from any of our competitors. Like, what the fuck? Like, no wonder we blow people out of the water. Like, the talent, Tyler was always there to be hired. The fact that we had a chance to even hire him always blew my mind, because he always should have been hired by someone else first. The fact that no one tried to hire him is an indictment on them. Absolutely. The fact that even then, after he had proved it for years, still no one else came calling is insane to me.
And then turns around and does the Patreon.
He does the Patreon.
Gets as many patrons as like a company would kill to have signing up or giving money or whatever.
This shit isn't that hard. That's what I keep harping on. Like, when people give these disingenuous takes, or like, you don't hire. It would be like if fucking Kevin Durant was a free agent and everyone was like, we're okay.
We're good. Yeah, we're set.
We're okay. Go start your own league. He's like, okay, people are going to watch me. I'm going to
you know what it is? It's because it's old school versus new school. It's like, we're not going to sign Kevin Durant. He shoots 3-pointers. We're still out here with our back to the hoop, It was like, it's the game evolved. And having a guy like that is...
I was like, how many people have reached out to you? He was like, nobody. I was like, what?
Crazy.
So for even then, that's why he always has my respect, to know that there wasn't some job he could just safely jump to.
Like, it was a risk. It was
a huge risk, and he benefits from it, and I'm very happy for him. And anytime he invites me out, I'm going to do it. And so far, no one's had a problem with that, and I think that's probably wise of them.
Have you guys done anything since?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've gone on his show twice.
Okay. Because I feel like there was, was there any, like, there was no hesitation or trepidation or whatever?
On my side?
Yeah, like, have you guys just been good? Was there any awkwardness? Was there anything?
Not really. I mean, honestly, I would argue we talk more now because we didn't ever text because we did 4-hour shows, so there was nothing else to talk about.
Right.
Now, it's like we we talk probably more on Instagram just because other people can't see that. And
sure.
It sucks. It's good and it sucks. Every time we tweet at one another, people are like, "You guys should do a podcast," and it's like, we get it.
No fucking kidding.
We fucking get it, dude. Like we would love to. It was fun. It was crazy. We got paid for that. Insane. But we get it. So we talk on Instagram because people can't see that and bombard us.
Sure.
But it's like we also love it because it's like, yeah, people did care. People did listen.
Yeah. What's nice. Or, I mean, life is long. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah. In this case, if it might feel like an eternity, but, there's a future for Mickstape down the road.
Maybe.
Somehow, somewhere.
I don't
think that's a maybe. I think that's pretty guaranteed.
Maybe. It's not something, I don't try and dwell on it because I'd go fucking crazy.
No, I shouldn't do that, but I would be stunned if there wasn't some, eventually, like we said, there's life after Dave or life after Barstool.
Maybe.
Or there's new life,
I don't want people to see this and be like, "Oh, fucking, it's coming next week."
No, I'm not trying to give any false hope, but me personally, I think that you'll ride again in one way or another, in different, maybe it's on a podcast, whatever it may be.
Francesa and fucking Dog didn't.
Sure, but that was not, that was because Mike and Dog didn't get along.
It's true.
If you and Tyler hated each other, I would say otherwise. But
that's a good point.
But you mentioned, you got to do what you got to do in the moment.
And again,
because you got new baby, you got a new life.
Yeah, and I truly those were my priorities and what I love to again. I don't do shit for pats on the back from strangers. It's never matter because those people turn on you just as quick. They were just killing Tyler right before he resigned, and it's just is that easy for you to? He's the same person.
Yep,
he's the same
absolutely.
person.
100%.
So I don't.
That's when you got to realize that to a lot of people we are fucking
disposable.
We're characters in a TV show almost.
Right, yeah.
They killed him off at the end of season 4, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and some people get mad about it, but they're not treating like a real person.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. It sucked. I would have definitely preferred if all of that didn't happen.
Sure.
If the racial strife in America wasn't a thing, but it is, and it sucks. Do you begrudge Dave at all? No.
Are you mad about how the way he, if there was an apology?
No, because
obviously you said you wish you never did it, but it happened. Do you think if there was an apology, it would have gone differently? Do you think that? Do you blame him for anything?
Not really. I mean, because the way I look at it is you can't just pick out individual moments and define someone for those individual moments.
Of course not,
even in that moment, it was just I knew he wasn't going to apologize because that's just that's who he is. That's
right.
That's in his mind. That's what got him to here.
Yep.
If you've always been successful doing things one way, why would you
ain't gonna change? Yeah.
Why would you?
Even in this latest round, I'm I wouldn't do this, but the dude's gonna eventually be a billionaire because his gut has always been right, basically.
Right.
So who am I to tell him no?
So it's as I know what it is. There's not a ton of surprises with the guy, you know what I mean? He can be very genuine and sincere off camera in his own ways.
Did you ever make this case to Tyler, or were you just hands off?
We talked about it on the show before things got out of hand, and he took the leave while I still had to do the show solo for 2 episodes, I think. We had talked about it as we would talk about any topic that was happening, and I was just listen, this is how I view this person. I don't think Dave's racist because I don't think Dave cares about anyone but Dave.
Himself, yeah.
So it's hard to be racist when and I've just seen him interact with all walks of life, and he truly treats everyone the same. So it's hard for me to be
treats everyone like a bag of shit.
Correct.
He's worried about himself.
Correct.
White,
so it's hard for me to be that guy hates that group. But no, he doesn't. He really doesn't. They did. This is the difference. You can do a racist thing and not be racist.
Sure.
I know that's hard for people to grasp, and I think he did something. And my other problem with it is we pride ourselves on being funny. The video wasn't funny.
Right.
It was just painfully unfunny.
Stupid.
Right, and that's why
that was a time. It was I'm going to say it to because
that's the whole joke.
I think I can.
That's the whole joke is white guy saying word that he knows he's not supposed to say, which just it's been done a million times. It's not funny. So it was just it was dumb. It was racist. It was a racist act, and it was not funny. So it was 0 for 3. And I told him that in real time. So when people some people at this company were like, oh, how could he speak out against? I'm not speaking out against anyone. I said this before it happened. Yeah. Like, what are we talking about here? Yeah. Like, this sucks. I wish this hadn't happened. I'm not going to throw away everything I've built just because of it. Like, I'm doing all these other things.
Do you, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that, right? You're not going to torpedo all your hard work. That really doesn't have anything to do with Dave.
Nothing.
You know, if you were like co-host or something, it's different. But it's like you've been doing this. You had this whole road that you just explained that you're now supposed to torch because of another guy. Fuck that.
If I worked at Nike, no one would be like, "No, why are you enslaving all these children to build?"
It's crazy. Yeah,
but here
we're still small enough. I think that people like just think of us as that one. Like I said, that amoeba. Like we're just one thing. But it's crazy, you know. Not everyone at fucking NBC is a rapist because of Matt Lauer. Not everybody is a horrible person because of what execs do. You know, like it's nuts.
I'm like, how my mind works. When someone does something wrong, I tell them that it was wrong. I don't kill that dead. Like if you stabbed me, I don't think that's a problem. Yeah. Like if you kill
or if it's a prolonged, like, you know, you're not.
If it's like the type of behavior I truly can't co-sign, but like. He fucking makes mistakes as a human being. Like I can't kill a person.
Do you think if you weren't, like you said, if it wasn't pandemic, if you weren't a father, if you weren't newly married, do you think you would have handled things differently?
It's hard. I don't want to give like white people love doing this. Like if I were in the civil rights era, I'd be out there marching. Like no, you probably wouldn't. No. Like we just kind of had that last summer. You
didn't do shit. Yeah.
So I don't want to give my alternate self any credit I didn't earn. Like I stayed here. I stood on it. I own it. I wear it. Like I work here. Like I've the stool and stars are on me. So I don't like thinking that like what I've. Like, because I still would have been living in New York, so would I have because I wouldn't have had the baby that moved me. So, like, would I have felt differently in an apartment by myself where I needed to get out of the city and go down to Atlanta and do something with it? Would he have even wanted that? Would he have still just wanted to do something? Like, I don't like thinking that way because that's not what happened. So I think at the end of the day, I'm here because that's who I am. Like, I don't want to give a different version of myself credit I don't earn.
Sure. Has there been things that you have tangibly changed becoming a father? That you like in terms of have you done anything different at Barstool or with your life recently that because you are a father?
I give myself breaks. Yeah. Like to be with a kid. So like when I first got here, like no one ever saw me out here because I was working. Yeah. Always. Yep. Always working. Like you wouldn't catch me at a bar like not
because it's nights and weekends when games are on.
Yeah, like
when you're working socials, you got to be doing all that shit. When you're doing basketball, you got to be when the games are on. I mean, it's there's never a time to just like be out and party.
Yeah, like never. So I just worked, and then after the Red Sox won the World Series in '18, like I gave myself like a break, and I faced my fucking anxiety of planes and shit, and I started doing that, and I was doing it in the wrong way because I wasn't. Like I'm not an email person, so like I don't leave paper trails. Like I tell people what I'm going to do, and then it's on them to relay my message or to at least have my back that I told them, and that didn't happen. So people were like, "Where's this fucking guy going? Like he's all over the place." So people were mad at me. It is what it is. I obviously didn't get fired. I'm still here, but I didn't understand. Like I had no semblance of a work-life balance, which a lot of people here don't. But like I had no fucking idea. None.
I think it's the hardest thing to do if you find a career that you like, a place that's thriving. You want to just like go, put it all into it.
Right. And so once the pandemic started, and I mean my child was born March 8th. I think Rudy Gobert shut down the world March 11th, I think. So like everyone else in the world went on paternity leave the same day as me. Yeah. So I didn't even get a paternity leave. Yeah. Because it was like, well, fuck.
Honestly though, if there is a good time to have a pandemic, it's, you know, you're washing your hands. You would have been doing all those things for anyway for your newborn.
But it added an extra level of stress where it was like, am I going to go get milk, come home and kill my kid with my air? For sure. Like, so it was stressful, and it's still stressful. Like we're not through this shit yet. No. But I definitely give like, especially once I got the new position, because that happened, pandemic hit March, I got the new position October. So there was only a couple months there where I was doing social, but there wasn't anything to be social about. Like everything was shut down.
Right,
so
I was
really just doing Mickstape until that exploded, and I was blogging. Like
just I was one hit after another.
By that time too, and I do want to shout out Keith for allowing me to blog. because even when we got to New York, Dave still thought I wasn't a good blogger, which is still really all I wanted to do. And do you remember Viral on the blog?
Yes.
So
that was viral.
That was just me posting a video with nothing. It was just the video. Because Dave was like, people aren't blogging these. They should be on the blog. Like, let's
put it up. And then you started to put a little editorial in, right?
Yeah. Well, that was Keith. Keith was like, no one's clicking these, and rightfully so. Like,
why would you?
Terribly low clicks, but they're good videos. And Coley's already writing the captions, and so that was one of those things. You crack the door, I'm fucking in that room.
Right through.
Like, so the second he was like, yeah, you can add something to it, I was like, I'm gonna add something. I was like, but am I writing under Viral or my name? And he was like, well, yeah, let's do your name, because that way people won't think it's like an ad or something. Yep. And the second they did that, I mean,
took off.
And then, because it was like, I was truly only doing viral videos for the beginning of it, but then when football ended, it was really just like, there's no one blogging on weekends and nights, so why don't I just...
so much opportunity there.
There's a ton.
That's so few people at this company is taking care of.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, I know.
Ever since I got this job, I don't do it as much, and there's no one who really stepped up. So if you're fucking watching this...
Like, some of these people who are like, well, how could I succeed? It's like, what if I told you that I could just give you a blog with XYZ number of fucking uniques, and it's just yours, and you're just like, no, I don't want to do that.
It's crazy.
But doing,
but Keith was the one who really opened that door for me, and since I started writing, I've been, just in terms of like page views, like top 5, and for the last 2 years, I've been 1, like not in overall page views, but in terms of people clicking every blog, like that's me. I'm that guy. Like, there aren't many better writers on the internet than me right now. Like, there truly aren't. Yeah. And like, I don't really waste my time with like the viral stuff anymore. Like, when I write something, it's something I either think is very funny that I just want to get a couple jokes off, or it's like, no, I'm going to put my foot into this.
When people like ask to blog again, for me to blog again, it's like, I just don't know if I can muster up the same feeling I once had for like this New York Post headline or this fucking video. It's like, I gotta care. And then I'll put some shit out. I'll put some fire out. But
and there's some like, once I got this too, like, the first year has truly been like trying to hit some certain goals and trying to figure out like the day-to-day of it. And when you get stuck in the day-to-day of it, it's hard to innovate and add new stuff. And like Nate and Hubs have been great at like giving ideas of stuff we can do. And we're always talking and trying to make it function better and give people more shine with like the pin blogs and stuff, which some people hate, like, oh, this blog's been here for 3 days. Yeah, fucking read it. It's really good. Like, we had too many stuff that it was just like, oh, here's a really good blog. KB put 3 years of trolling into.
And it's out there for 3 hours.
And then 4 other blogs come the second he posts it. So it's like, I'm trying to give people who like are truly, truly putting their foot into stuff, like that extra level of shine and appreciation so people can read it. And like next year, like I'm really trying to add stuff that like we've never done on the writing side, just because why not? Like, we've been told a long time like we don't really do that here, and it's like we've been told that about podcasting. We've been told that about video.
What we do is evolve and change. And grow
so it's like
trailblaze. So let's do it again.
No reason why we can't do that on the written side of shit too. So that's
so I mean, all of this you're talking, you are undertaking as you become a father.
And I got 2 on the way.
Hey, I don't think I knew that, right? Congrats, man.
That hasn't been announced yet. You're welcome.
Thanks, dude. So, Mick Man Part 2. Do you know boy or girl?
Not yet. No, it's still very new.
So as you are doing that, like, so you're growing a whole family now, have a new wife you're taking care of, I'm sure, dealing with real estate and housing and all that shit in your future, all while having to control, all while trying to, innovate and invigorate and all that, while making time for your baby. I mean, that is, to me, that's where I all fell apart. I tell people all the time, I was trying to do too much work that everyone at home wasn't happy. I was trying to do too much at home that people at work weren't happy. And it was like I was stuck in between both worlds.
That's hard, yeah. I mean, people killed you for that, but like I understand how it happened. Like, it's not that big of a leap to see how, like, it's right there. Like, you know what I mean? It's the fucking cookie attached to the electrocutor. Like, you're going to grab it eventually if you haven't grabbed it before. So like, it is what it is, but like, it is a lot to balance, and I appreciate that. Like, this is where we were talking about it last night at dinner. Like, this is a great place. At the end of the day, this is the best place to work. Whether or not you feel about certain individuals, as a company, there's no better place to, like, I walked in to Dave's office, said, hey, I don't want to raise a kid in this fucking city. I would like to move back to Boston. And I went into that meeting fully expecting him to be like, yeah, but we'd have to redo your contract because you're not going to be here, so we're going to take some money back. And I was willing to do that just to get out of here. And instead, he's like, what people don't know, when you're going to have like an actual conversation with Dave, if you don't have it in your head 500 times before you go have it, you're going to get your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
But when you do have that conversation, you also oversell how tough of a conversation it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you go in there, and I'm waiting for him to like do his lines, like read his lines that I've already written, and he just goes, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And I was like, alrighty. But like, again, a lot of companies would be cool like, no, you have to fucking work here until you die.
Right.
So that's, again, there's too much good that we do as a company and as people for me to just ever be like, fuck this place. Ever.
As far as well,
I won't say ever. I don't know what we're going to do in the future, but up to this point.
Yeah. As far as fatherhood is, I mean, even just to start this off 4 or 5 times right away, you're mentioning your dad, and now you're a father yourself. Is that something, you had the blueprint laid out already of how you wanted to do it? And
he trained me to be a dad my whole life because he always thought he was going to die. So he always had me ready, and I was. So he didn't say, "Hey, by the way, there might be this pathogen that leaves from China that shuts down the world." Like he didn't have me that prepared, but he had everything else lined up so that, I mean, I've been ready. My wife does an amazing job with our kid, an amazing job allowing me to have this life, be here in New York right now while she's up there with the 2 fucking dogs and the kid and growing another one. Yeah. Like she's a superhero, and I truly mean that. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm built for this shit. This is what I'm meant to do. I love it. I love being a parent.
Were you? Yeah, you were. I mean, you were preparing so long to be on the job side, but family man as well. It's something you always wanted.
Yeah,
you were ready to rip.
My father acted like we were growing up in the 1400s. He was like, "You need to pass on our name." No one with our last name's done more than me. No one. They're all fucking hockey players who spell it a little differently because Ellis Island didn't care.
Right.
Like that's what my last name is. Like no one else has done more than me with this name.
You are the one.
So maybe it should die with me the more I'm talking about it. But it was like fucking every day. You were like, you gotta have a son. Like always. Like this was my whole life. Like the pressure that was to find a mate, to have a child. Like this was something I had to think about every day from a very young age. And so when it came time, like, I was prepared, and I'm still like in parenthood. I had this thought recently, and I'm curious your thoughts. Like, I feel like parenthood has less to do with the actual kids and more to do with how you and your partner are going up. Like the communication, the planning,
definitely, bro.
How are we going to do this with this, or how, like, what are your thoughts on this? Because
and that's why when it's not rock solid, it becomes very difficult. Like we probably needed to do some work on our marriage before we had one, because that's when shit really ratchets up, and that's when it really gets difficult. But I mean that tag team is everything,
of course, and we're. It hasn't. I'm not saying like everything's been the smoothest, but like I think we both respect each other to the point where it's like, no, I truly feel this way about it. You're kind of like on it, so why don't we do it this way? And then next time when you're 100% on it, I'm riding with you.
It's like give and take.
It's got to be this mutual respect. And we definitely have that, and it's the best.
Is that something you think your parents and your father passed down?
No.
Or something you learned? No. Yeah, you learned that yourself? Yeah.
No.
It's funny because I know you were so close with your dad, and that's got to be a big part of like who you were. But when you learn your own shit on your own, where it's like, that's not what you did or what you taught me to do.
They fucking, I mean, I grew up in a house with screaming, like yelling at one another, like, and I love my parents, and everyone has problems and shit, but like, I was a therapist from a very young age, like always. I was the person they would vent to, both of them. Like, my mother would take me to basketball practice, she'd vent to me. My father would drive me to school, he'd vent to me. So it was like, I was always dealing with...
not fair at all.
No, I was and I, like, at a young age, I was like, am I supposed to be a therapist? Like, do I go to college to be a therapist? But I would fucking kill myself if I was constantly listening to everyone else's problems.
Sure.
So when I saw that, I was like, if, like, this is not a way to go about things. So, like, I don't like yelling. I don't like confrontation. Like, sometimes it obviously boils over to that point. But, like, There really just has to be a respect. You got to hear people, you got to communicate, and it's always easier said than done. But I really try and, in the moment, be like, let's take a breath, and like we go to therapy just because it's healthier to say things that you're not always comfortable. Like sometimes it needs to be dragged out of you to say it.
Definitely.
And like that was like a preemptive move. It wasn't like oh shit's bad, let's go to therapy.
Right. It's like going to the gym. Once you're huge and out of shape, it's too late almost. You want to do it when it's upkeep. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right. In all aspects of life, people like to be reactive instead of proactive.
Yep.
This was something I was like, let's be proactive. And it was also her idea too. I'm not trying to take credit for it because I know she's watching. It was our idea to do it because I want this shit built to like I'm very
well, and it seems like you're very much on the same page. I mean, I feel like when I saw you two get together, it was like, I mean, you're very much in love, very clearly a good fit. Becoming, the family man, it seems like you always wanted to be. And like, there's not as, a lot of guys around here, I don't sit around thinking like they want to become a dad. Right. Whereas I think you wanted to become a dad.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's like not a thing a lot of people think about. And it was something like
girls want to grow up and become a mom. Yeah. Guys don't necessarily feel that way. But like, you feel like one to me that like you did want to be a pop,
Yeah, and it's the best. Like the one thing I didn't realize is like how funny babies can be.
Yeah, like they're a good little source of entertainment.
She cracks me the fuck up. Yeah, she's ridiculous.
And just wait, man, when the personalities really start coming out, I always clown about that Ruth Conda shit. But some of the stuff they say, I'm like, where the fuck did this come from, man?
Yeah, she's like just starting to like understand she has a voice, and she just rambles and like points at things, and it just kills me.
Yeah, man, I'm such a fucking
I hate other people's kids.
Me too.
They fucking
I don't like
stink.
kids. I like my kids.
Correct. Man. Yeah, I think people's kids are annoying. They're loud. Like my daughter's an angel.
And as far as a daddy-daughter thing,
it's very cute.
I can't see a commercial about that shit without breaking down and crying. I'm watching movies now that are like action movies, but there's one scene with the daughter, waterworks, man. I'm like, I'm such a big fucking mush now for anything, my little girl. It's crazy how much that,
I'd like, there's very few things I'd truly kill someone over. I'd kill for her. No question.
No question.
So fast.
No question, man. But I mean, I think it all is, to sum it all up, it's, from the way you're a father to the way you've been at this company to the jobs you've grinded through some of the ups and downs. I think that it's all like your passion for it, really.
Absolutely.
Like your passion for your daughter, and like right here, you get emotional. The passion you had for something as silly as tweeting, something, the passion even when you weren't doing what you wanted to do, the passion to get there. It's that's what motivates. I feel like in you more than like anybody.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone has. It's a luxury, really. Not everyone gets to do it, and I'm not going to lose it.
You got perspective too. I think you always have good perspective. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be a dickhead. You know what I mean? Like, I do truly want to be grateful for what I have. Like, I understand how rare it is to be in the opportunity we're all in. We're like very lucky, and I don't want like. You read reading I'm going to therapy now just because of the news. Sure. I read the fucking news and I'm like, is anyone else seeing this? Yeah. Like, what's happening? Right. I know it's never been great, but like, boy, oh boy, is this tough. And like, I just vent to a person I have to pay to listen to it, and I feel bad for them. But I'm just like, do you see this shit?
Yeah, this shit is fucking wild.
Is anyone ever gonna just like stop and take a step back? Like, it's just like, I know, man. Are we just gonna keep? It's fucking itchy and scratchy. They keep pulling a bigger gun and a bigger gun and a bigger gun until they're like literally comically like over the globe, just pointing at guns at each other. Like that's all we're doing. We just keep pulling, and it's like, just shut the fuck up. I know, man. That's like, more people need to just shut the fuck up. That's
fucking men, brother.
Shut the fuck up.
Everybody could shut the fuck up.
Like I see people like, I saw this woman a few months ago at the Wendy's drive-thru. They forgot her barbecue sauce. You would have thought they like raped and murdered her daughter in front of her. She got a big woman. She got out. She's like screaming at this poor woman. Like, can you imagine like screaming at a minimum wage fast food worker? For like, can you just be like, hey, you forgot my barbecue sauce?
Here it is.
They're like, here, I don't give a fuck, dude. But she gets out and she's
that's a very easily
berating them, and it's just like, this person shouldn't be allowed to speak out loud.
No,
you should not be in public. You fucking animal.
That's where I wish there was some Squid Game shit. Somebody watching and just, that person, you're gone. See you later.
People, remember the beginning of the pandemic? Like, we're gonna be nicer to each other. everyone's going to learn a lesson.
25 seconds.
We were clapping for the doctors. Now it's
pots and pans.
Now it's like I'm actually smarter than you. I'm a doctor now.
What happened to the 7 p.m. pots and pans? Give me a break, man.
Shut the fuck up.
More people shut the fuck up. More people should be grateful, and more people should take advantage of the opportunities they are given, because I think you're an example of you took every single like you said, give me a little bit of daylight and you hit that hole and you were gone every
That's
time,
a big reason too why, shout out Devlin, like when he tried to come back, that's why I hired him on Mickstape, because I'd gotten that second opportunity,
right?
And I wouldn't be here without that second shot, so it's like I very much understand the like, if you fuck up twice, like, I got nothing for you, man. But,
sure.
I mean, does anyone else work harder here than him now?
No,
he's always doing something. Like, he's fucking crazy
for the brand, too. Like,
for the brand.
For the fucking brand.
So, like, pass the buck, too. No, well, that's a bad thing. But, like, pass it on.
Pay it forward,
Yeah, pay it forward, thank you. But it's like, I got that second opportunity. Like, that first opportunity, I squandered it. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you. But what Dave will always say, too, is, like, I showed up. I wasn't doing anything, but I was reliable. You could count on me showing up and not doing shit. And it wasn't that I was like lazy. I just truly didn't know what to do.
Right.
So it was, and that helped me a lot when I came back, because he knew I was dependable. Like he was like, well, now he has a task. So if he can do the task, I know he's going to be dependable.
Right.
And that's big. Like, show up and be prompt. I mean, we saw it on Barstool Idol. That one girl was late. She got fucking canned immediately.
Yeah.
Be accountable. That's just showing up. Well, we were saying it earlier. And, be consistent, show up, good things will happen.
And a lot of that all kind of just adds to, like, be an adult, be mature about it. Of course. Recognize your responsibility, shut the fuck up, and do your fucking job, whether it's social media, whether it's your podcast, whether it's being a father. I mean, you do all of it, man. So
I'm trying, man.
Good on. That's all you can do.
It's fucking
trying, and you succeeded more than a lot of people out there. So
that's true. I'm a monster.
You are. You're a fucking literal and figurative monster, dude. I hope everybody in your life is proud of what you've done, man, because you deserve it.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. That's part one.
And now,
good shit, man. Thank you.
Of course.
That's perfect.
Thank you. At the end, you were just trying to get me to cry.
No,
you were just let's talk about his dead dad for a while.
No, that's not true. That's not true. But you'd be very proud of the person you became. The person you are.
All right, thanks for watching. Make sure if you All right, thanks for watching. Make sure you catch up on all our other editions of Behind the Blog. We have a playlist right here with all the other Barstool employees that I've sat down with. Also, drop a comment below. Who else do you want me to sit down with? Who else do you want their origin story? Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you turn the notifications on. And we'll see you next time for Behind the Blog.